Chapter 3892. The battle caused a huge commotion. Powerful shock waves swept over from afar like a storm. Guitao and the others retreated again and again. At this moment, there was only shock in their eyes. Zichen was too strong. Even if he only used the holy talisman art, it was still terrifying. An ordinary human soul would only be courting death if they went forward. Only an earth soul could truly suppress Zichen. In fact, the other party did the same. An earth soul destroyed the scarlet-winged tiger with a single palm. But immediately after, Zichen exerted his strength again. A serpent appeared out of thin air, carrying lightning and dark clouds as it headed straight for the earth's soul old man. The old man struck out again, repelling the serpent with a single palm. It was only repelled but not destroyed. Powerful energy shook the sky, forming a shockwave that spread out in all directions. Shanya and Lan Gumeng were not idle bystanders. Just as Zichen and the Earth Soul were fighting, the two of them also attacked one after another. Their targets were Yu Yi, Qin Kai, and the others. Swoosh! Lan Gumeng's long sword pierced through the body of a human soul. This weapon had long reached the level of 100 weapons and was even ranked at the top. It was not a problem for it to kill a mere human soul. Shanya did not use her weapon. Instead, she charged forward. A strange power that belonged to her appeared around her. Her opponent was a human soul with a soul weapon. When he saw Shanya arrive, he used a powerful attack. A sharp aura surged forward. Light appeared the tip of Shanya's finger and disappeared in a flash. She stood behind the human soul. The soul weapon in the opponent's hand was still in attack mode, but his figure had already stopped. There was a red line between his brows. This was Shanya's power. It was like the nemesis of all soul power in the world. She could easily kill her enemies without even using a soul weapon. She and Lan Gumeng advanced side by side, killing one human soul after another. Shijiao, Ai's position was slightly behind. When Yu Yi and Chen Kai saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. Disbelief filled their eyes. They never thought that the two people following Zichen would be so powerful. In fact, the two of them were not weak. The reason why they were not very famous was because Zichen was too dazzling. As for the two women standing beside Zichen, although they were also noticed, most people paid more attention to their beauty. Their true combat strength was completely ignored. Shield, come. Looking at the two people gradually approaching, Yu Yi felt a little nervous. He used the secret technique again and shouted. Naturally, he returned without any results. At this moment, a thin ray of light flew from the side, like an enlarged embroidery needle. Yu Yi couldn't help but shudder when she sensed his sharp aura. Since the life companion's spirit shield had not returned, he could only use a defensive method. A strange light protected his body. The enlarged embroidery needle was blocked outside. It kept spinning at high speed, trying to break through the defense. That was Xiao Er's soul weapon, and it was blocked by Yu Yi's defense. Yu Yi let out a sigh of relief. Whoosh! At this moment, a sharp whistle sounded. Lan Gumeng's soul sword arrived, shining with a dazzling blue light. Buzz! Yu Yi's defense began to tremble violently, as if it could break at any time. This scared Yu Yi so much that her face turned pale and she cried out in alarm. At this moment, Zichen's opponent, the skinny old man, had already destroyed the Sky Thunder Dragon. He had used a total of 3 attacks. Feeling the abnormality behind him, he planned to go back to help. At this moment, Zichen put away his brush and held his staff. Using the strange footwork of the combat technique, his figure flashed and arrived in front of the Earth Soul realm. He smashed down with his staff. The patterns on the staff lit up instantly. The original black light was replaced by a purple light. A clear purple staff shadow appeared between heaven and earth, like a giant's weapon. The old man snorted and raised his palm to attack again. A terrifying power surged out from his skinny palm. With a loud bang, the staff shadow dissipated. Zi-chan retreated a few feet. The purple staff in his hand smashed down again with a mighty aura. The spectators in the distance were all shocked. Zi-chen was only at the human soul realm. Not only did he block the attacks of an earth soul realm several times, he even took the initiative to attack. He's really amazing. Guo Tao sighed from the bottom of his heart. They were both at the human soul realm, but the gap between him and Zi-chen wasn't small. Old Tang didn't attack immediately. Instead, he watched quietly. He wasn't surprised that Zi-chen could block the attacks of an earth soul realm expert. Everything was within his expectations. His opponent, who was originally very calm, couldn't sit still anymore. Looking at Zi-chen's methods, he obviously wouldn't be defeated before his strength was exhausted. Old Chin, stop hiding your strength. Quickly finish him off. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Yu family said loudly. Zi-chen's opponent couldn't help sighing. I never expected that I would have to use my full strength to deal with a mere human soul realm expert. Forget it. This brat is indeed difficult to deal with. I'll just go all out. As for whether I'll become a joke in the future, that can only be discussed in the future. He stretched his hand out and pressed against the void. His soul energy started to circulate wildly. A black palm appeared in the sky. It looked like the skeleton of a ghost. It was dozens of feet large. Black light lingered on the skeleton, and it was filled with an evil aura. Brat, you should be proud to be able to force an Earth Soul Realm expert to use his full strength. The demonic claw immediately pressed down, and a bizarre energy enveloped the area. Zi-chen felt that the space around him had been locked down, and he couldn't dodge. Light shot out from his eyes as he circulated his spiritual shield with all his strength. The spiritual shield instantly enlarged and enveloped Zi-chen. The demonic claw brought along a terrifying aura as it grabbed the light shield. Countless energies converged at the same time. The enlarged light shield was being squeezed, and it started to shrink. Zi-chen curled up in the light shield and constantly channeled energy into it. Boom! The energy of both sides was constantly being consumed. In the end, the demonic claw was the first to collapse. Zi-chen's figure appeared. He glanced at the undamaged light shield, and his eyes were filled with joy. This was the full-strength attack of an Earth Soul Realm expert. He didn't hold back at all. If it wasn't for the extraordinary quality of the spiritual shield, he wouldn't have been able to block it. At this moment, he really wanted to thank Yu personally. That was because this shield was too practical for him. Suddenly, a crisp sound rang out from behind. It was Yu Yi's defense that had been broken. Following that, Lan Gumeng and Xiao, Oi's soul weapons pierced through each other's bodies. Yu Yi let out a miserable cry and fell into a pool of blood. You're courting death. The Earth Soul Realm expert, who had been restraining Old Tang, roared and turned around to help. At this moment, Old Tang moved. There was no probing or foreplay. He attacked with his full strength. A ray of light shot forward like a bolt of lightning and instantly pierced through the Earth Soul Realm expert's body. At the same time, the speed of the ray of light didn't decrease as it continued towards Zi-chen's opponent. The opponent's expression changed drastically as he turned around and struck out with his palm. An even more terrifying power surged out from his withered palm. This ray of light wasn't blocked at all. It directly pierced through the opponent's arm and pierced into his forehead. Chapter 3893. The rainbow light returned to Old Tang's side and disappeared in a flash. Old Tang looked at the two Earth Soul realms, standing there temporarily, and sighed. What's the point of doing this? The two powerful Earth Soul realms gradually lost their vitality and fell to the ground. With a bang, smoke and dust rose. Yu Yi was not dead yet, but he felt that he might as well die now. Whether or not there was an Earth Soul realm existence in a family was extremely important. The weight of an Earth Soul realm expert was also unimaginable. Now, one of their Yu clan's Earth Soul realms had died in battle. This was a huge blow to the Yu clan. The overall strength of the Yu clan would be reduced by at least a third. With this, the competing forces would naturally take the opportunity to rise. However, Yu Yi's worries were obviously unnecessary, because after the two Earth Soul realms died, he would not be able to live either. In other words, none of the people he brought would be able to leave alive. The powerful attack approached again, drowning him like a sea. The battle ended quickly. There were more than 20 corpses on the ground. Among them, the two Earth Soul realms corpses were especially conspicuous, because even though they were already dead, the aura emitted from their bodies was still powerful. Zichen turned around and looked at Old Tang, preparing to praise him. Old Tang's protective power was too strong, but soon Zichen saw that Old Tang's face was pale, as if he had suffered heavy injuries. Obviously, Old Tang had paid a great price to suddenly kill the two Earth Soul realms. Old Tang looked at Zichen and said, "I'm powerless to fight anymore. It's up to you guys now." Zichen's expression changed slightly when he heard this. He looked around but did not see anyone. "Yu Gui!" he called out softly. Yu Gui flew over from afar and landed on Zichen's shoulder, then looked around. There was a flickering light in its eyes, and finally its gaze fixed on a certain spot. The staff in Zichen's hand glowed, and nearly 2/3 of the runes lit up. The staff turned purple, and he waved it in the air. Whoosh! A purple-gold staff shadow extended out horizontally. When it came into contact with 100 feet away, it exploded with waves of fluctuations. In the fluctuations, figures appeared and were sent flying. There were actually 5 of them, all of them in the human soul realm. It was unknown when they had been hiding in the dark. Yu Gui's gaze continued to move and fixed in another direction. Zichen swung his staff again, and the staff once again swept across the area. The second wave of people appeared. It was definitely not a coincidence that they had been able to accurately force the enemy to reveal themselves twice. Yu Gui was able to see through their concealment methods. Then, without Zichen needing to do anything, the surrounding light flashed again, and one figure after another appeared. This time, there were even more human souls, nearly 100 of them. They could watch Yu Yi and Qin Kai die without doing anything. Of course, they were not from the two families. In this region, there was only one place that could mobilize so many human souls at once. Sacred Mountain. It seemed that the opportunity Zichen had obtained from the Sacred Mountain was so great that some people didn't want him to leave alive, even if he voluntarily gave up the sacred realm in exchange for his freedom. Old Tang looked at these people and didn't say anything. Behind him, Guo Tao and the others were shocked, but none of them dared to cry out. These human souls slowly approached, forming an encirclement. Old Tang, who was in the Earth Soul realm, wasn't in the encirclement, and no one in the Earth Soul realm appeared to restrain him. Zichen's group of 4 began to gather together, standing back to back, staring in 4 directions. The enemy came prepared. "We have to go all out," Zichen said in a deep voice. He wasn't worried that the enemy would use numbers to suppress him, but everything had a limit. For example, he had just fought with an Earth Soul realm expert, which had consumed a lot of his energy. Now that he was facing so many human souls, it would naturally be a bit difficult to fight. Moreover, if he wasn't wrong, these human soul stage cultivators all had powerful backgrounds and were truly capable. As if to verify Zichen's guess, light flashed in the vision of the 4 people, and soul weapons appeared one after another. These soul weapons were all Saint Soul weapons from the Saint Soul Mountain. Although there weren't hundreds of them, they were far superior to ordinary soul weapons. After taking out their Saint Soul weapons, they began to speed up. Behind them, everyone began to form hand seals, using the Saint Soul arts from the Saint Soul Mountain. Zichen raised his brush, and a scarlet-winged tiger appeared, charging forward. Many of the approaching attacks were slapped down one by one, but there were even more attacks coming. These attacks naturally couldn't compare to the attack of an Earth Soul Realm expert, but there were many of them. Soon, the scarlet winged tiger exploded. Zichen rushed out from the explosion, holding his staff and shield. Using his fighting technique, Zichen, who had killed his way into the crowd, was like a tiger that had grown wings. He used all his strength to activate the staff that was suffused with purple light, instantly shattering a Saint Soul weapon. The staff's momentum didn't decrease as it directly killed a human soul realm expert. To Zichen, this was a complete massacre, but it also consumed a lot of energy. Just as Zichen made his move, Yugue also quietly attacked the enemy. Right now, it had no problem killing a human soul realm expert. Old Tang stood in the distance, silently watching the battlefield, as if everything was as he said. He no longer had the strength to make a move. Further away, two people stood. Their figures were blocked by the clouds, so the people below couldn't see them, but they could easily see what was happening on the battlefield. Your Saint Mountain is really rich. You actually used so many human soul realm experts to exhaust the enemy. A middle-aged man standing on the left side as he looked at the one-sided battle in front of him. The person standing on the right said indifferently, "The Sacred Mountain has recruited too many people this time. We need them right now. Moreover, before coming here, we have already reached an agreement with the Mirror Spirit. These people have left behind a part of their souls. Even if they die here, they can be reborn." The person who spoke earlier exclaimed, "The Mirror Spirit is indeed omnipotent. In this continent, only the Mirror Spirit can do this. And in every battle, only the Sacred Mountain would be able to make such a big move. Brother Lon, you flatter us. This battle will be over soon. It's time for the two of us to take the stage. Everything will go according to the agreement. Your Lon family will provide accurate information. And after the matter is settled, you can take 100 soldiers." The two slowly descended from the sea of clouds. On the battlefield, Zichen's group and Yu Gui were all using their full strength. The number of human soul realm experts was decreasing one by one, and the pressure on them was also decreasing. However, they didn't feel relaxed. Instead, they felt more dignified, because the enemy had sent out more than 100 human soul realm experts. How could there be no Earth Soul Realm experts in the dark? Boom! There was a huge energy shock, and the last human soul realm expert fell. Zichen's chest heaved up and down. His face was slightly pale, and there were more than a dozen small wounds on his body. He didn't know how much he was injured in this battle, but he had consumed a lot of energy. Old Tang, who had been watching the battle, suddenly turned his head and frowned. Chapter 3894. Sensing the aura of the Earth Soul Realm, Zichen laughed bitterly. As expected, we can't be kind. Right now, he had expended a lot of energy. It was obviously impossible for him to fight an Earth Soul Realm expert. The other party had clearly come prepared. They had no intention of letting them leave alive. As the Earth Soul Realm expert approached, Zichen said in a deep voice, "You guys go first. I'll cover you." Shani glanced at Zichen and didn't say anything. However, her resolute gaze said everything. She, who had also expended a lot of energy, knew very well that if she really left this time, it would be an eternal farewell. "We can't leave." At this moment, Lan Gumeng's voice rang out. "If we continue fighting, we might have a chance of survival. If we split up, we will definitely die." She looked around with vigilance in her eyes. At this moment, Yugue had locked onto another direction. He should have discovered something. Zichen glanced at Old Tang. The other party had killed 2 Earth Soul Realm experts in an instant. This was very impressive. Perhaps Old Tang still had the ability to surprise him. "I can at most help you restrain one." Old Tang looked at Zichen and said. Zichen gripped the staff in his hand tightly and said, "That's fine too." Fighting one was better than fighting two. The 2 Earth Soul Realm experts separated. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family landed in front of Old Tang. He looked at Old Tang and said, "How about the two of us also watch this battle?" Obviously, he didn't want to expose his identity. "Sure, but be careful not to lose your life." Old Tang said, "It's not easy to reach the Earth Soul realm. It's better to have fewer suicidal actions." The Earth Soul realm expert from the Lon family smiled and said, "If you still have the ability, then do as you wish." In a battle between Earth Soul realm experts, it wasn't easy to determine the victor, and it was even more difficult to determine life and death. Old Tang's ability to kill two Earth Soul realm experts in an instant was already very impressive. He didn't believe that the other party had such a method. The other Earth Soul realm expert flew directly towards Zichen. He didn't attack immediately. Instead, he released the pressure of an Earth Soul realm expert to give Zichen some pressure. "Before you die, do you have any last words?" The Earth Soul landed on the ground and slowly moved forward. The pressure that fell on Zichen increased as he moved forward. Zichen narrowed his eyes. "Let's see if you have what it takes to kill me. You're still so stubborn even in the face of death." "Interesting." The Earth Soul smiled faintly and said, "Remember, the one who killed you is Shanir." A powerful aura began to surge, giving Zichen even more pressure. Shanir had seen the previous battle. He was very surprised to see the two Earth Soul realm experts die, but he was even more relieved. This was because they had become the Oriole. If they had been the first to act as the Mantis, the two of them would have died on the spot. It was at this moment that Zichen put away his shield and staff. Saniel sneered and said, "Weren't you very tough just now? What, are you going to accept your fate now?" Although he said that, he didn't let down his guard at all. Zichen had too many good things on him. He might have other trump cards and tricks up his sleeve. Sure enough, the next moment, a holy talisman brush appeared in Zichen's hand. According to the information he received, the holy talisman brush had a great origin. As the consumption increased, Zichen had to go all out. Hence, he took out the unfathomable brush. The holy talisman art should be of some use at this moment. He took a deep breath, and his eyes turned cold. His soul power began to surge. He raised the brush, and the tip of the brush bloomed. He drew a horizontal stroke. Heaven and earth brush. A straight ray of light was left in the air. It was like the rule light that cut through heaven and earth as it swept toward the Earth Soul realm expert. This was a powerful move that Zichen had intentionally hidden. He hadn't used it even when he was on the sacred mountain. This time, there was complete mystery. The power of his stroke had increased by several levels, and its power was much stronger than before. Compared to the ghost tiger and the serpent, it was much more powerful. Shanir's expression couldn't help but change. He clearly didn't expect Zichen to have such a powerful move, even though the battle had lasted until now. A light flashed in his hand, and a soul weapon was about to appear. Zichen's move was indeed very powerful and posed a strong threat to him. However, he was confident that he could block it because he had a holy soul weapon, and it was the 100-soul weapon. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a ray of light appeared in front of Lan Gumeng. The blue dragon beast that had never participated in a battle suddenly appeared. It was like a shining blue sun, and its body emitted a dazzling light. It appeared in the air and stared at Shanir. It waved its claws at him. A ray of blue light flew out at a speed faster than the holy talisman brush. It seemed to have crossed time and space and instantly landed on Shanir's body. The blue light enveloped his body. Shanir felt that the time and space around him seemed to have changed. Space was in chaos and time was still. The weapon in his hand that had yet to appear was also blocked by a strange force. It was in a static state and no longer appeared. Even his thoughts paused for a moment. This change happened very quickly, but it also disappeared very quickly. It happened in an instant, like an illusion. Shanir's thoughts became clear once more. The weapon in his hand appeared. It was an extremely sharp sword. It was the Light Shadow sword. It had once been the 100-soul weapon. However, it had been pushed down by Ziqin and the other two's weapons. Even though it had been removed from the 100-soul weapon, Shenier was still confident that he could use it to kill Ziqin. Shenier was very confident. However, what had just happened was not an illusion. It was real. Just as he paused, the holy talisman brush was already nearing him. The moment he regained consciousness, the holy talisman brush had already reached him. There was no sound. It was as if the laws had descended. Without a sound, Shenier's body was split in two. All the power in his body was rapidly draining away. His originally confident face was now filled with fear. He had no idea what had just happened. A ray of soul light immediately flew out from between his eyebrows. It swept up the light shadow sword that had fallen and flew into the distance. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family was stunned when he saw this scene. He was a little dazed. "You were distracted." Old Tang's indifferent voice was heard. The light in front of him flashed again. The rainbow lightning appeared again and penetrated the Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family let out a scream and immediately fled into the distance. The two Earth Soul Realm experts had fled with serious injuries. Shenier from the Saint Soul Mountain had even lost his physical body. It was a great loss. This scene was not what Ziqin had expected. It was an absolute surprise. When he turned back to look at the blue dragon beast, he realized that its aura was no longer stable. The dazzling blue light around it had dimmed. Chapter 3895. The spectators in the distance were almost petrified. Ziqin was too powerful. He had seriously injured an Earth Soul Realm expert with one move. If the other party hadn't reacted quickly and fled in time, he would probably have stayed here forever. Some of them had seen Ziqin's battle in the Sacred Mountain, but compared to today's battle, that battle was nothing. Guotao's eyes flickered. He was extremely shocked and impressed at the same time. Such a powerful human soul realm expert was definitely not seen in 1,000 years. He might even be the strongest human soul realm expert in the world. However, Ziqin's current state was clearly not as good as before. The prolonged battle had consumed too much of his energy. But had the crisis been resolved? At this moment, Ziqin took a step forward and drew another stroke in the air with the sacred talisman brush. It was the same attack he had used against the Earth Soul Realm expert, but it wasn't as powerful as before. Perhaps it was because he had consumed too much energy, or perhaps it was because Ziqin had deliberately held back. The power of that stroke extended into the distance. Wherever it passed, the space seemed to be split into two. The human soul realm experts hidden in the space were also split into two. There's more. Guotao's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. The enemies were endless. They had no intention of letting Ziqin go. With a stroke, 3 human soul realm experts who couldn't dodge in time were killed. There were still 2 who managed to dodge in time. Before Ziqin could make a second stroke, those hidden in the dark appeared one by one. This time, there were dozens of people. After they appeared, they didn't charge at Ziqin. Instead, they attacked him from afar. Sacred talismans. They were all sacred talismans. They were from the sacred Talisman Mountain. After seeing the sacred talismans in the sky, Ziqin's expression immediately turned ugly. He didn't expect that even the sacred Talisman Mountain would send people. The next moment, a sacred talisman flew out in front of him, forming a huge defense. The attack of a sacred talisman master was definitely extraordinary. Moreover, there were so many of them. Shijiao, Lan Gumeng, and Shanya immediately retreated and hid in the defense. Old Tang was still standing in the distance. He was clearly unable to fight anymore, but no one attacked him. When the sacred talisman's attack landed, the energy rumbled and a terrifying shockwave spread out. Next, it was time for the Saint Talisman Masters to perform. In the eyes of the others, The expensive sacred talismans seemed like they were worthless as they rushed madly in Zi Chen's direction. Thick smoke billowed as the ground began to sink. A huge crater appeared. No one could see how Zi Chen's group was doing, but judging from their previous state and the fact that they were being attacked by so many Saint Talismans, it was unlikely that they were in a good state. 15 minutes. Those holy talismans exploded for a full quarter of an hour. Smoke and dust filled the sky, and not a single person could be seen. Such a long period of time was more than enough for these Saint Talisman masters to exhaust all of their offensive Saint Talismans. Then they stopped and began to approach each other. If he was alive, he wanted to see him. If he was dead, he wanted to see the corpse. Besides, Zichun had something they needed. He's not really dead, is he? Guatao looked at the deep pit in front of him with a hint of worry in his eyes. The smoke and dust were currently scattering, but there was still no activity. Perhaps it was a disaster. At this moment, a blue light suddenly flew out from the dissipating smoke and dust. Like a bolt of lightning, it pierced through the body of a human soul realm cultivator. A dazzling ray of light followed closely behind, flying towards the second human soul realm cultivator. This was Shan Ye's soul weapon, which was also a 100 soul weapon. After that, Jiu Er's and Zi Chen's soul weapons also flew out and attacked the enemy. At the same time, soul power from all directions gathered towards the deep pit, causing the smoke and dust to fly up again. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and lightning appeared from within. A serpent appeared under the dark clouds. Its body was as large as a mountain, and it carried a terrifying aura as it charged towards the enemy outside the deep pit. Cries of surprise came from afar. Clearly, after such a violent attack, Zi Chen's group was still alive. Moreover, the power of their counterattack was terrifying. The pale-faced old Tang sighed. As an Earth Soul Realm cultivator, even he began to admire Zi Chen. The dust and shock waves in the deep crater finally dissipated, and Zi Chen and the other 3 flew out. After seeing the state of the 4 of them, many people's faces changed, including Zi Chen. The robes on their bodies were no longer intact, and their exposed skin was already dyed red with blood. They were all alive, but they were heavily injured. Whether or not they could survive this battle was still a question. The long staff that belonged to Zi Chen flew back. When it landed in his hand, he, who was covered in blood, charged forward with the staff. With each staff strike, he destroyed a ghost tiger. With a shield of light protecting his body, he charged through the violent energy and killed the human soul realm cultivator with a single strike. At this moment, he was moving around in a small area. Fighting techniques were extremely useful in this area. However, every time he killed a human soul realm cultivator, his energy consumption would increase. Zi Chen was almost exhausted. The human soul realm cultivators on the battlefield were decreasing one by one. It wasn't that they weren't strong, but that Zi Chen's group was too strong. Other than Shijiu's weapon, the main soul weapons were the 100 soldiers from the sacred Weapon Mountain. Even if they were heavily injured, they still had powerful strength. This was the power of the 100 soldiers themselves. The light on Lan Gumeng's blue sword became extremely dim and flew back to her side. Lan Gumeng's figure fell from the sky, but she didn't even have the strength to stay in the air. An attack appeared behind Lan Gumeng. Shanya came to her rescue in time. After killing the enemy, she also used up the last of her strength. As for Shijiu, she was already exhausted. Only Zi Chen was still fighting until the last human soul realm cultivator was killed by him. His figure fell from the sky, and he used his staff to support himself on the ground, not letting himself fall. As far as the eye could see, there were corpses everywhere. Just this battle alone might not be able to change the situation of some factions, but it would definitely cause them to suffer serious injuries. Zi Chen's breathing became hurried, and even his eyes became blurry. However, he didn't immediately start healing his injuries. Instead, he turned around and looked into the distance. No matter how intense or terrifying the battle was, that group of people didn't leave. They had been silently watching the battle. Zichen didn't know how many of them had problems, but there were definitely some. Guitao tidied his robes and looked around. After confirming that no one else had appeared, he walked forward. The gazes he saw changed, becoming extremely cold. As soon as he moved, 5 people walked out with him. It's really not easy to be the Oriole. Guitao, who was walking forward, said, I don't know how many people wanted to be the Oriole, but they didn't choose the right time and died here. Fortunately, we can endure better than them. Zichen looked at Guitao and said indifferently, You clearly know that the Oriole is dead, yet you still dare to appear. You're already like this. What do I have to be afraid of? Chapter 3896. Lan Hua, are you from the Lan family? Hearing Lan Hua's self-introduction, Zichen's expression changed. He was in disbelief. His relationship with the Lan family was extraordinary. Why would the Lan family send someone to kill him? However, Zichen quickly understood. The Lan family was not Lan Rui's Lan family, but a force that ruled a state. There were too many people who could speak. Impossible, you must be Guitao. At this moment, Xiao, who was recuperating, spoke. This team was arranged by the Lan family. There was already an assassin. How could there be a problem with the leader of the team? How could the Lan family not be able to handle such a small matter? That short-lived guy you're talking about is already dead. Lan Hua laughed. Then his appearance began to change. Maybe you don't know me, but you definitely know my brother. His name is Lan Qian. Zichen knew Lan Qian. He deliberately caused trouble for them. He seemed to be a brainless second generation, but in fact, he was a very scheming person. Last time, he took advantage of the situation and left a mark on Noah's body. That was the reason for the subsequent encirclement. However, that Lan Qian was dead? Who killed him? The puzzled Zichen pondered for a moment and understood. He must have died in a game between the families. After all, the enemies that came wanted to kill the heir, Lan Rui. Now you should know why you're dead, right? Lan Hua laughed again. There was a hint of malevolence in his smile. Today, none of you can think of leaving. Guitao is dead? How is this possible? Xiao still couldn't believe it. The people she arranged this time were very careful. How could the news be leaked in advance? It's the Lan family. Zichen answered Xiao's doubts. The people who provided us with the information came from the Lan family. They should have people among them. Only the Lan family knew where Zichen was hiding. They also understood the Lan family's thoughts in advance. Therefore, they made some preparations. If it weren't for this incident, they would have continued to endure until Zichen relaxed his vigilance or when they felt the time was right. Today's battle provided them with an extremely good opportunity. Therefore, Lan Hua no longer restrained himself and decided to stand out. Lan Hua looked at Zichen and said, Do you have any last words before you die? Lan Gumeng and the other 2 tried to stand up and face the enemy. However, they had consumed too much energy, and the medicinal pills had not fully taken effect yet. Therefore, they were still powerless and sat back down. Zichen said indifferently, I should be the one asking you that. As soon as he said that, light suddenly shone from Zichen's body. Or perhaps it would be better to say that he was burning with flames. That was a kind of life flame. It was extremely gentle. After it appeared, Zichen's injuries began to heal. The energy he had consumed earlier also began to recover. This was a revival technique. It was a technique from the other black jade slip. The first black jade slip contained the heaven and earth brush. Previously, Zichen had used it with the blue dragon beast to split an earth soul realm expert into 2. Now that the revival technique had appeared, it was as if infinite potential had been stimulated. Zichen's injuries and strength began to recover. Another great trump card that he had not used on the sacred mountain appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Good boy, you can really keep your composure. Old Tang sighed. If it were him, he would never have forced himself into such a dangerous situation. The three girls were extremely excited. They were very happy that Zi Chen still had a trump card. Zi Chen's change made Lan Hua's expression change. Obviously, he did not expect that Zi Chen still had such a trick up his sleeve. However, he was not afraid at all. He said coldly, "So what if you have a trump card? You're already seriously injured. Let's see how many more attacks you can block." Zi Chen glanced at Lan Hua disdainfully. Then he waved his hand and 9 Saint Talismans appeared in front of him. They were the ghost spirit Saint Talismans. In the next moment, 9 ghost spirits appeared and went straight for Lan Hua. Lan Hua said coldly, "Since I dared to come, I naturally have a way to deal with this move of yours." He patted the jade pendant on his waist. A ray of light was released from it, forming a strange defense. Since he dared to come to kill Zi Chen, of course he was fully prepared. However, would it work? Zi Chen ignored Lan Hua. Instead, he looked at the others, his eyes full of cold, killing intent. The flame of life was burning around him. He held the staff and moved forward, using the most powerful strength he had. At the same time, he used the power of the staff to kill these people one by one. The energy fluctuated. Zi Chen's body fell. Even though the flame of revival was still burning, his body swayed slightly and he almost fell. He looked at Lan Hua, who thought that he was fully prepared, standing there motionless. His vitality had disappeared. The power of the ghost spirit Holy Talisman was not something that Lan Hua could imagine. Zi Chen looked at the crowd in the distance. This time no one stood out. He did not know whether it was because they were shocked by Zi Chen's combat strength or because all the people who should have appeared had appeared. It seems that we're safe. Zi Chen sighed and finally relaxed. That's not necessarily true. A cold voice suddenly sounded. A person appeared out of thin air. The moment he appeared, a terrifying aura surged around him. It was another Earth Soul Realm expert. Your performance has surprised us, but that's as far as it goes. A second voice sounded. Another Earth Soul Realm expert had appeared. Zi Chen's face immediately turned pale. There were 2 more Earth Soul Realm experts. If that was the case, there were 6 of them. The 2 approached Zi Chen, one in front and one behind. Killing intent surged in their eyes. I happen to have 1 more attack. Which one of you will go first? Old Tang looked at the 2 and said, he had recovered some of his strength when he was watching the battle. Your opponent is me. The 3rd Earth Soul Realm expert appeared and landed directly in front of Old Tang. Looking at the 3 Earth Soul Realm experts, Old Tang did not feel afraid. Instead, he said, it should be enough, right? It is indeed enough. No matter how shameless you are, there should be a limit. An aged voice sounded, and another person appeared. Zi Chen, who was in despair, was surprised and delighted when he saw the old man. The other 3 Earth Soul Stage experts were alarmed and subconsciously stopped in their tracks. This was because the person who came was the Mountain Lord of Saint Talisman Mountain, the strongest Saint Talisman Master on Saint Talisman Mountain. The Mountain Lord of Saint Talisman looked at the 3 Earth Soul Realm experts and said, there are so many of you against 4 Human Soul Realm experts. Can you still have some dignity? Even if you're used to being shameless, shouldn't you leave some dignity for Saint Talisman Mountain? The 3 Earth Soul Realm experts' faces darkened. What? You want to fight in front of me? The Mountain Lord of Saint Talisman raised his eyebrows and a cold light flashed in his eyes. That's because they deserve to die. Another voice sounded out, and a person suddenly appeared beside Zi Chen, raising his palm and striking down. Chapter 3897. The powerful pressure caused Zi Chen to stand motionless in his original spot. He could only watch as the palm descended. This palm could definitely kill him, even if he was in his peak state. Not only was it an attack from an Earth Soul Realm expert, but it was also the strongest Earth Soul Realm expert he had ever seen. Lan Gumeng and the others did not react at all. Like Zichen, they thought that after the Mount Saint Talisman Mountain Lord appeared, all the trouble would be gone. They did not expect that there would be an Earth Soul Realm expert in the dark and even sneak an attack on Zichen. An Earth Soul Realm sneak attack? This was obviously a shameless act. Seeing that Zichen was about to die, a cold snort was suddenly heard. In the next moment, a tall old man appeared beside Zichen. He raised his palm to the sky and blocked the palm that was falling on his head. Boom! Violent energy surged, forming a terrifying airwave. Lan Gumeng, Shanya, and Xiao were immediately pushed back by the airwave and retreated far away from the battlefield. During this time, a gentle force supported the three of them. Otherwise, they might have been killed by the aftershock in their current state. The dignified Mount Saint Soul Mountain Lord actually sneak attacked a human soul realm expert. Do you have any shame? The Mount Saint Talisman Mountain Lord's expression did not change much. He seemed to have expected this and could not help but mock. Zichen raised his head and saw that the tall old man was the Mount Saint Beast Mountain Lord that he had seen before. His eyes were filled with gratitude. At the same time, he looked ahead and saw an unfamiliar old man. According to the Mount Saint Talisman Mountain Lord's words, the old man should be the Mount Saint Soul Mountain Lord. It was unexpected that 3 Mount Saint Soul Mountain Lords would appear in today's battle. As a result, only the Mount Saint Weapon Mountain Lord had not arrived among the 4 Mount Saint Mountain Lords. At this moment, the Mount Saint Soul Mountain Lord rushed forward again. Obviously, he wanted to kill Zichen. Humph. The Mount Saint Beast Mountain Lord snorted coldly. His figure disappeared from Zichen's side and rushed toward the Mount Saint Soul Mountain Lord. However, just as the Mount Saint Beast Mountain Lord disappeared, Zichen felt another murderous intent appear behind him. By the time he felt the danger, the other party was already behind him. Death was near. It was none other than the 4th Mountain Chieftain, who hailed from the sacred Weapon Mountain. He could have easily killed Zichen, but now he was using a soul weapon. From this, one could see the intensity of his killing intent. Sure enough, all of you are here. The Mountain Lord Saint Talisman laughed instead of being surprised. In the sky, countless rays of light suddenly blossomed. A huge mirror of light appeared out of nowhere. A ray of light descended from the sky and landed on Zichen, protecting him. The sacred Weapon Mountain Master's attack arrived, but after encountering the brilliance, it was unable to do anything. The powerful vibrations forced the sacred Weapon Mountain Lord back. He looked up at the sky, and when he saw the mirror, he cried out, "The sage, heavenly mirror!" What appeared in the sky was indeed the sage, heavenly mirror from the sacred mountain. Zichen, who was shrouded in the light, felt a surge of vitality falling from the sky. His injuries were visibly healing, and this effect was even more obvious than the recovery technique. At the same time, his depleted strength was also recovering. This surprised and delighted Zichen. On the other side, 3 more rays of light descended, enveloping Lan Gumeng, Shanya, and Zhou and began to heal their injuries. The 2 mountain chieftains from the sacred Weapon Mountain and the sacred Soul Mountain Chieftain looked at the sky in disbelief. Clearly, they had never imagined that the sage, heavenly mirror that guarded the sacred mountain would appear here. The other Earth Soul Realm cultivators were also shocked. Only Old Tang exclaimed, "What extravagance!" The mountain chieftains from the sacred Soul Mountain and the sacred Weapon Mountain Chieftains' expressions changed. After exchanging a glance, they saw the uneasiness in each other's eyes. Old Tang shouted, "Sacred Talisman, what is the meaning of this?" The mountain chieftain chuckled and said, "Shouldn't I be asking you and the sacred weapon this question? As mountain chieftains, Why are you two not guarding the sacred mountain? Why are you here? The Sacred Soul Mountain Chieftains said coldly, They took something they shouldn't have. The Mountain Chieftains said, According to the rules of the Sacred Mountain, there's nothing they shouldn't have taken. The rules are set by the Mountain Chieftains. If we say they shouldn't have taken it, then they shouldn't have. The Mountain Chieftain of the Sacred Soul Mountain Chieftain's attitude was still firm. The Mountain Chieftain of the Sacred Talisman said with a smile, What if you are not the Mountain Chieftains? The two Mountain Chieftains' expressions changed when they heard this. The Mountain Chieftain of the Sacred Talisman cupped his fists and bowed to the sky, saying, Thank you. The sage Heavenly Mirror released rays of strong light which shrouded the land, accompanied by powerful energy fluctuations. When the light disappeared, all the Earth Soul Realm cultivators except Old Tang had disappeared. On this day, the 4 Mountain Chieftains of the Sacred Mountain left the mountain together. But out of the 4 of them, only 2 returned. Looking at the disappearing sage, Heavenly Mirror, and the others, Ziqin, who had recovered from his injuries, was puzzled. Old Tang walked towards him. Old Tang, what is going on? Ziqin asked the question in his heart. Before leaving, I was worried that you would encounter danger along the way. So I went to the Mountain Chieftain of the Sacred Talisman and asked him if he could secretly escort you along the way. He said that there was no need to worry and that everything was within his expectations. Old Tang sighed and said, I just didn't expect them to make such an arrangement. This is too generous. Ziqin was still puzzled. Shanya and the other 2 also walked over. With the help of the sage Heavenly Mirror, the 3 of them had recovered to their best condition. However, their clothes were torn in many places. Without the bloodstains, they were truly exposed. If I'm not wrong, the Mountain Chieftain of the Sacred Mountain may be replaced, Old Tang said. The Mountain Chieftain will be replaced? That's impossible. Every Mountain Chieftain of the Sacred Mountain is invincible. There is no power in the world that can kill them, not even the sage Heavenly Mirror, Xiao said. As a person from this area, she naturally knew about the Sacred Mountain. That's true, but it's only limited to the Sacred Mountain. With the power of the Sacred Mountain, every Mountain Chieftain is invincible on their own mountain. However, once they leave the Sacred Mountain, without the protection of the Sacred Mountain, their combat strength will be reduced by at least half. Even if their strength was reduced by more than half, they could still easily kill Ziqin. They were even stronger than ordinary, earthly souls. After all, they were all Mountain Chieftains. How can this be? Ziqin still couldn't believe it. Let's go. What happens next is a family matter of the Sacred Mountain. It has nothing to do with us, Old Tang said faintly. Old Tang said faintly. Actually, there was another question in his heart. Did the Mountain Lord of Mount Sage Talisman purposely use Ziqin as bait to lure the other 2 Mountain Lords out bit by bit? The 2 Mountain Chieftains of the Sacred Weapon and Sacred Soul would never have thought that the Mountain Chieftains of the Sacred Beast and Sacred Soul, who had always ignored worldly matters, would want to kill them. Chapter 3898. The spectators at the back didn't know what had happened. When the sage Heavenly Mirror appeared, there was a mysterious energy that blocked their vision and aura, so no one could see what had happened. Ziqin glanced at the corpses on the ground. Some of them were still bleeding. Noah wasn't next to him, and Peng Chong wasn't there either. The job of cleaning up the battlefield was naturally left to Ziqin. Even the weakest cultivators here were in the human soul realm. Ziqin plundered the place and obtained a lot of good things, including many Saint Soul weapons from Saint Weapon Mountain. He believed that once they reached Fong Lin City, they would be able to sell them for a very good price. After cleaning up the battlefield, Ziqin looked at the corpses on the ground and stomped his foot. The ground collapsed and thick smoke billowed. Those who had been killed by them were all buried in the ground. After that, Ziqin's group of 5 returned to the team. However, those who were originally in the team subconsciously retreated. Obviously, they didn't dare to get close to Zichen. Just looking at the experts who had died in this battle was enough to make people tremble in fear. In fact, Zichen could have just left, but there were still many goods in the team. Since the leader Guitao was dead, Zichen was obligated to help them and escort them to their destination. After this battle, all their troubles had been resolved. He believed that the future would be smooth sailing. With Zichen's group in front, Old Tang no longer hid his tracks. The group set off for Fanglin's city. After a short rest, Zichen looked at Old Tang across the bonfire and asked, "Aren't the 4 mountain lords the strongest on the sacred mountain? Why are there conflicts between them, to the point of scheming against each other and killing each other?" Shanya and the others also looked at Old Tang. They had the same doubts as Zichen. Old Tang sat there and pondered for a moment before saying, "To be precise, the leaders of the sacred talisman and the sacred beast wanted to kill." "Why?" Zichen asked again. In his impression, the leader of the sacred talisman mountain was very kind. He shouldn't be the kind of person who would scheme, let alone kill the innocent. Furthermore, killing a mountain lord was no small matter. Old Tang raised his head and quickly glanced at them. Zichen had a feeling that Old Tang was deliberately looking at Lan Gumeng. Could this matter be related to Lan Gumeng? This should be related to the current situation of the sacred mountain. The 2 mountain masters of the sacred beast and sacred talisman are extremely ancient existences, but they rarely care about the secular world. Everything is managed by the 2 mountain masters of the sacred mountain, sacred weapon, and sacred soul. Old Tang said, "During this period of time, it is inevitable that there will be disagreements because of the amount of resources. However, these are only small conflicts and are not worth mentioning. However, in recent years, the 2 sacred mountains have clearly become arrogant and have done many outrageous things. Among them, the most influential one was the change of ownership of the O clan's Sacred Mountain Gambling House more than 100 years ago." "Sacred Mountain Gambling House, O family?" Zichen's expression changed. In that case, Oli didn't lie. He really is the young master of the Sacred Mountain Gambling House? Shanya and Lan Gumeng's expressions also changed. At that time, when Oli talked about this matter, they all took it as a joke. Old Tang nodded. "That's right. Oli was indeed the young master of the gambling house. However, in the battle between Oli and Sacred Radiance, Oli lost to Sacred Radiance. At that time, Oli also lost the Sacred Mountain Gambling House. Although Oli later told me that there were other secrets to this battle, his defeat was already a fact." After that battle, the Sacred Mountain Gambling House should have been managed by Sacred Radiance. However, at the crucial moment, the Sacred Beast Mountain Lord suddenly came out of seclusion and dealt with this matter. In the end, the O clan lost the gambling house, but Sacred Radiance didn't completely get it. Even so, it shouldn't be to the extent of killing each other, right? It was just a small dispute of interest. Moreover, it had nothing to do with the Mountain Lord. How could it develop to such an extent? Zichen asked again. Old Tang said, "Perhaps it's because of the unity within the sacred mountain. If I'm not wrong this time, the Sacred Soul and Sacred Weapon Mountains will appoint new mountain masters. At that time, the 4 mountains will be completely unified. At that time, the strongest sacred mountain will be able to unite against outsiders." Zichen looked at Old Tang and said in disbelief, "Old Tang, are you sure there is an enemy that requires the 4 mountains to work together to deal with?" The sacred mountain was extremely powerful and had honorary elders all over the world. Zichen didn't believe that any power would dare to have any ideas about the sacred mountain. This is hard to say. However, since the sacred heavenly mirror is willing to leave the sacred mountain to deal with this matter, it must be extremely important. Old Tang thought for a moment and said, "Do you know why the sacred mountain can send so many human soul realm experts?" Zichen shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Because of the mirror spirit, even if they die in battle outside, the mirror spirit can still revive them, as long as they pay a certain price. But this time, it seems that they have miscalculated. Even the mountain master is gone, so it is impossible for them to be revived. I guess those people have been kept in the dark and don't know anything. If they die, they will die for real. Lan Gumeng, who was listening to old Tang, suddenly said, "When the sacred heavenly mirror appeared, I vaguely felt that I could control it." What? Hearing this, everyone looked at Lan Gumeng. To be honest, Zi-Chun didn't have a good impression of the sacred heavenly mirror. This was because it had no rules at all and always did things its own way. If it hadn't healed his injuries and helped him for free, his impression of the sacred heavenly mirror would have been even worse. However, it was undeniable that the sacred heavenly mirror was extraordinary and powerful. Lan Gumeng could control the sacred heavenly mirror? The sacred heavenly mirror has its own consciousness. It can't be controlled by anyone. Maybe Sister was in a trance when she was severely injured, Xiao'er said at this moment. Lan Gumeng nodded. Apparently, she also thought that this was a possibility. After all, the feeling in her heart at that time wasn't that strong. Old Tang, on the other hand, didn't comment on the situation. In his spare time, Zi-Chun would comprehend spells. At present, he still had several spells that he had yet to comprehend. Among them, there were two that were the most powerful. One was the sacred talisman spell that could summon the sacred mountain battle spirit, and the other was a more advanced combat skill. When he returned from the assessment, Zi-Chun had proposed to give this spell to Oli, but Oli had rejected him. These two spells were extremely difficult to comprehend. Even at his current level, Zi-Chun still couldn't figure out a way to comprehend them after several days of meditation. Everything was just as Zi-Chun had guessed. There was almost no danger on the road ahead. Occasionally, there would be some ignorant people, but they were just small problems that could be easily dealt with. The people in that team were still far behind Zi-Chun. As long as Zi-Chun stopped, they would stop as well. With Zi-Chun guarding the road ahead, there would be no trouble. Along the way, Zi-Chun and the others would temporarily stay in towns and cities. At the same time, they would see if other people wanted to buy something. However, as they moved forward, Zi-Chun found that the road ahead was getting more and more lively. There were also more and more teams that they encountered. During this time, the things that everyone talked about the most were the grand event of the successor selection held in Fenglin City. There were occasional discussions about the change of the sacred mountain, but there were no valuable clues or information. As for whether the mountain master would change, no one talked about it. Shijio was born and raised in this area, so she was very clear about the division of some forces. When the major forces fought openly and secretly, there would also be business between the two sides. She looked at Zi-Chun and said, "If you want to talk about the most famous members of the Fong family, there are a total of 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. You've already met Fong Wulian, but his fame has nothing to do with his strength. He's a spoiled brat that everyone hates. It's said that he's not liked in the entire Fong family. If it weren't for his high status and good brother, he would have been killed countless times." Zi-Chun had his own judgment of Fong Wulian. Zi-Chun did not comment on what kind of person he was. He only believed in his own eyes. Shijio continued, "The second one is Fong Wudao, the brother of that spoiled brat. His great fame was built bit by bit. He has the title of the strongest human soul in the Fong family." "Is it just the Fong family?" Lan Gumeng asked. Shijio said, "Sister, you might not know, but the people of the Fong family have always been proud. They don't even take the people of the sacred mountain seriously. Moreover, the direct descendants of the Fong family all have magic spirit robes that can attack and defend. The Fong family thinks that the family is the strongest, but it actually means the strongest in the world." Zi-Chun said, "The strongest in the Fong family is the strongest in the world. They sure talk big." Shijio said, "That Fong Wudao has too many brilliant achievements. It's normal for him to fight above his level. He has long been the successor of the Fong family. I just don't know why the Fong family is choosing a new successor this time. However, I think it's just a process. What about the last one? Zichen asked. The last one is called Fong Wuling. She's not as famous as Fong Wudao, but in some famous families, she has an extremely high evaluation. Her combat strength might not be as good as Fong Wudao's, but she's better in terms of intelligence and is extremely difficult to deal with. Most importantly, she's Fong Wudao's younger sister. Zichen said, Fong Wudao's younger sister, and Fong Wulian is Fong Wudao's younger brother. Doesn't that mean that Fong Wulian and Fong Wuling are close relatives? They're close relatives, yes. To be precise, Fong Wulian is Fong Wuling's older brother. However, the relationship between the siblings is extremely bad. It's said that they don't recognize each other. However, the two of them are very close to Fong Wudao. Shijio looked at Zichen and asked, This time the Fong family is flourishing. Are you really going to help that spoiled brat Fong Wulian? Zichen nodded. This was what he had promised the other party. Just for the rewards he promised you? If that's the case, I suggest you look for Fong Wudao. Whether it's reputation or character, he's much better than Fong Wulian. Shijio said, Moreover, with the resources that Fong Wudao has, he's definitely much better than Fong Wulian. Zichen shook his head. Other than the rewards mentioned before, helping Fong Wulian this time was mainly to return the favor. This was the main reason. They arrived at Fong Lin City. P.S. I caught a cold. It's very uncomfortable. That's all for today. Chapter 3899. Fong Lin City was the headquarters of the Fong clan. The Fong clan started in this place, and later on, they built this city. The first time he saw Fong Lin City, this famous city left a deep impression on Zichen. This was because the walls of the city were not made of hard and immortal stone, but thick green bamboos. At a glance, it was emerald green. There was still a distance from the city, but a faint bamboo fragrance wafted over. The bamboo fragrance that was inhaled seemed to contain a trace of pure soul power. Zichen's expression changed. He looked to the side and found that Lan Gumeng and Shanya had also made the same discovery. These green bamboos are clear spirit bamboos. They have the effect of condensing the soul. It is said that the Fong clan started out by selling a kind of iron tree that could be refined into weapons. After inadvertently obtaining a refining technique, they rose to power. Xiao looked at the rows of clear spirit bamboos in front and explained, The bamboos outside are considered ordinary compared to the Fong clans. The real good stuff is in the Fong clan. It is said that the Fong clan controls a small world called the Bamboo Sea. There are all kinds of amazing bamboos inside, and these clear spirit bamboos were transplanted from that small world. That small world is also the foundation of the Fong clan. Outsiders are forbidden to enter, and in the Fong clan, only the direct descendants are qualified to enter. The further they went, the stronger the bamboo fragrance and the more soul power it contained. They had not even entered the city yet. So what kind of scene would it be? Although the people of the Fong clan are all arrogant, I have to say that they have the capital to be arrogant. No one dares to provoke that second generation, no matter where he goes. There are even many people who want to curry favor with him. This is somewhat reasonable. There were guards at the city gate, but they were only there to maintain order and did not charge extra. After entering the city, Xiao continued, Every building here is expensive, and the closer to the Fong clan, the higher the price. It can be said to be sky-high. Among them, the Fong clan specially divided a part of the buildings for the experts they recruited to live in free of charge. Carefully sensing the soul power contained in the city, Zichen could not help but sigh at the Fong clan's wealth. This scene was similar to his world. It was just that the ancient trees in his world were of a much lower grade than the bamboos here. This time, Zichen had truly broadened his horizons. Staying here, even on the streets, could still make people feel relaxed and happy. After entering the city, Shijio looked at Zichin. Do you want to find a place to stay at the Undrunk restaurant? Zichin said, That's not necessary. Let's find a place to eat first. According to Fong Wulian's information, he should have known about this when they entered the city. So if the other party really wanted to, he would have come looking for them himself. Shijio said, Then let's go to the Undrunk Tavern. Zichun had no objections to this because he could also tell Shijio's family that he was safe. The Undrunk restaurant had branches in some big cities, so their business was naturally very good. After Zichin and his group came in, they directly asked for a private room. Originally, there was no such room, but after Shijio introduced herself, there was naturally one. After eating, they found a nearby inn to stay. They did not stay at the Undrunk restaurant. It was unknown whether it was because of this golden age or some other reason, but the cost of accommodation was extremely high. Fortunately, the soul power in the room was denser, so it was worth the price. That night, Shan Kuei came looking for them, but Fong Wulian did not appear. Shan Kuei came here and only sent Zichen an invitation, indicating that Zichin should go to the Undrunk restaurant tomorrow. Fong Wulian rented an entire floor there and was going to hold a party tomorrow. After Shan Kuei left, the others came to Zichen's room. After learning about this, Shijio said unhappily, This Fong Wulian is too arrogant. He didn't come in person. You have to know that we went through a lot to get here. Zichin shook his head and said, This is actually quite good. At least we won't be the target of public criticism. It was obvious that Fong Wulian had found a lot of helpers this time. After all, this matter was of great importance, and it was impossible for the other party to trust someone they had only met once or twice. If it were Zichin, it would be the same. The necessary vigilance was still necessary. Zichin looked at the three girls. Shijio seemed to have guessed his thoughts and immediately said, If you want to go, you go by yourself. The three of us will definitely not go. There are a lot of good things in Fonglin City. Tomorrow, the two sisters and I will go shopping. Maybe we can find something good. That's good. Zichin knew that the three of them had a very bad impression of Fong Wulian, so he did not say anything. Old Tang sat next to him and did not say anything. The next day, when the sun was high up in the sky, Zichin took the invitation and went to the Undrunk restaurant. The Undrunk restaurant had its own internal area to entertain people of high status. It also had an external area that could be rented as long as one had enough blue crystal coins. After taking out the invitation, someone naturally led Zichin there. After a few months, Zichin saw Fong Wulian again. The other party was sitting on a wide chair with his legs crossed, watching the dancers with a wicked smile on his face. Shan Kuei stood behind him like an iron tower, like the most loyal guard. In addition to the two of them, there were more than a dozen people sitting in other places, all of them discussing something. As soon as Zichin came in, Fong Wulian saw him. He immediately stood up and waved at the dancers. Young ladies, you're all dancing well. Now that the young master has an important guest, you can dance in my room tonight. As he said that, his eyes fiercely glared at those wonderful places. The dancers retreated one by one, but when they left the room, they all looked at Zichin curiously. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is the famous Zichin. Back then, he created a huge miracle on the sacred mountain. He is also a good friend of mine, Fong Wulian. Fong Wulian stepped forward, took Zichen's hand, and introduced him to everyone. However, what he received in return was not a smiling face, but some cold faces. So it's you. You've delayed us for a long time. Otherwise, this party would have started long ago. A thin man snorted coldly. Zichin. His name is Wang Zhe. Although what he said is not pleasant to hear, it's the truth. They came early, but you didn't come. I delayed the party again and again until today, Fong Wulian explained. Zichin hurriedly cupped his fist and said apologetically, Everyone, I'm sorry. Something happened on the way here. That's why we were delayed. Seeing that Zi-Chen's attitude was sincere, the surrounding unfriendly gazes receded a little. Wang Zhi snorted and did not say anything. Chapter 3900. Fang Wulian's words caused many people's expressions to change. The location of the examination was the Bamboo Sea World. One had to know that it was the foundation of the Fang clan, and also their greatest secret. Outsiders cannot go there, and even many of the Fang clan members could not go there. Only the direct descendants, the true direct descendants, had the qualifications to come in contact with it. Zi-Chen's expression also changed. Before coming here, he had heard of the Bamboo Sea World. It was definitely the Fang clan's greatest secret. Everyone did not hear wrong. This time the Bamboo Sea World is indeed my Fang clan's Bamboo Sea World. However, there are not only opportunities there, but also great dangers. Therefore, I need a strong person to be the leader and lead everyone. Fang Wulian pointed at Zi-Chen and said proudly, Zi-Chen is the best candidate. I believe in his strength. I also believe in my unique vision. If I say he can do it, then he can do it. If he can't, then he can. Once these words were spoken, the previously restrained, unfriendly gazes once again stared at Zi-Chen. This time, everyone's eyes became even colder. Zi-Chen's reputation was great, but it was only limited to the Sagely Mountain City. During the examination, this was Fanglin City, and many people belonged to the local forces. Therefore, not many people knew about Zi-Chen. Second young master, what are the benefits of being the leader? The person called Wang Zhi asked again. Fang Wulian said proudly, Of course there are many benefits following me, let alone being the leader. All of you better wash your ears and listen carefully. The benefit of being the leader is that after everyone enters, they must listen to the leader's orders. Whoever dares to disobey will be killed immediately. In addition, no matter if you succeed or fail, you will receive a magic spiritual robe from me. Looking at everyone's changing expressions, Fang Wulian said in a serious tone, The magic spiritual robe is of a high grade, the kind that is not sold to the public. My products are all of the best quality. Once these words were spoken, everyone's eyes flashed, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. If that was the case, the benefits of being the leader were too great. For a moment, everyone cast provocative gazes at Zi-Chen. Wang Zhi continued, If that's the case, then I'm not convinced that Zi-Chen is the captain. That's right, we're not convinced either. The others also chimed in one after another. No one was willing to let such a huge benefit fall into someone else's hands. Zi-Chen remained silent. He didn't say anything, nor did he express any opinion on whether or not he should be the team leader. If you feel that this arrangement is inappropriate, you can raise objections or issue a challenge. After all, only the strongest person is qualified to become the captain, and only then will everyone be convinced. The smile on Fang Wulian's face did not diminish, and he was very proud of himself. Zi-Chen, who had been expressionless all this while, frowned slightly. He could no longer see through Fang Wulian's true thoughts. Fang Wulian sat down again and crossed his legs, saying, This is how this young master does things. As long as you have enough strength, feel free to challenge me. This young master has plenty of resources, but I'm just afraid that you're not strong enough. As soon as he said this, everyone became even more confident. Wang Zhi said again, Zi-Chen, do you dare to accept my challenge? Zi-Chen, who was sitting to the side, slowly shook his head and said, I don't accept the challenge, and I don't want to be the team leader. When everyone heard this, they were stunned. They didn't expect Zi-Chen to give such a reply. Even Fang Wulian's expression changed. He looked at Zi-Chen and said, Zi-Chen, you don't have to be polite with them. I think very highly of you, and the position of team leader is yours. You will definitely beat these arrogant fools until they are convinced. Fong Wulian's words made everyone feel uncomfortable, but they didn't dare to get angry at Fong Wulian. They could only stare coldly at Ziqin. Ziqin, second young master, thinks very highly of you. Do you dare to fight with me? Wang, je provoked again. Second young master thinks so highly of your strength. Don't you want to show your strength? Ziqin was still unmoved. He glanced at Wang Zhe and said, Since you want to be the team leader so much, this position is yours. After saying this, Ziqin stood up and said, Get someone to inform me when we are leaving. I will listen to the new team leader's arrangements. The smile on Fong Wulian's face disappeared, and even Shan Kuei was stunned. In his opinion, this was clearly the young master's good intentions. It was only a friendly match, and he believed that with Ziqin's strength he would be able to easily win and obtain a magic robe. Why wouldn't he be happy? However, Ziqin rejected without even thinking. Fong Wulian, this is the team leader you think so highly of. He doesn't even dare to accept a challenge. Isn't he too cowardly? At this moment, a sarcastic female voice came from outside the door. A beautiful woman in green with a slender waist pushed open the door and entered. Seeing the woman, Fong Wulian's eyes flashed. He immediately stood up and said, Sister, why are you here? Fong Wulian, watch your words. I am not your sister. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will cut off your tongue. Fong Wulian patted his face lightly and said flatteringly, Look at my mouth. It's only for a moment. Wuling, why are you suddenly here? Shijio said that there were 3 famous people in the Fong family. One of them was called Fong Wuling. Could it be her? Ziqin looked at the woman in green. When Fong Wuling saw how Fong Wulian was fawning over her, she couldn't help but sneer. I heard that you held a big banquet here and recruited many experts. I came here to see what kind of trash you are. I didn't expect to be so disappointed. Fong Wulian laughed and said, I am just making a small fuss. The family gave me a chance. I can't waste the family's good intentions, right? Wuling, don't be offended. Fong Wuling said, offended? How is that possible? You are the son of a lowly servant. Are you worthy? To be honest, a shameless guy like you shouldn't be qualified. I am not interested in you or your people. That's right, that's right. Wuling, you are right. Fong Wulian was not angry at such deliberate ridicule. Instead, he nodded repeatedly. This made many people look at him strangely. This second generation was like a completely different person from before. In front of Fong Wuling, he was like a dog. There was no trace of his previous arrogance. Fong Wuling no longer paid any attention to Fong Wulian. Instead, she looked at Ziqin and said, I came here today to see you. Are you really Ziqin? Ziqin nodded and said, That's me. Fong Wuling said, I couldn't tell. Ziqin, who can mess up the sacred mountain, is actually so timid. He doesn't even dare to challenge me. I really wonder if you are a fake. Ziqin smiled and said, That's possible. Fong Wuling looked at Ziqin from head to toe. She blinked and said, Why don't you be my team leader? I'll pay you double the reward that Fong Wulian gave you. Chapter 3901. Hearing Ziqin's words, everyone's expression changed. Their gazes became strange. Fong Wulian had said that regardless of the outcome, the team leader would get a magic spirit robe. But Ziqin had said 5 robes. If the price was doubled, it would be 10 robes. How dare he say such an exorbitant price? You believe Fong Wulian's words? Fong Wuling laughed sarcastically. Even if he is willing to give it, he has to have it. 1 magic spirit robe is already the limit of what he can afford. It also depends on my mood. I'll give you 3 magic spirit robes. Come with me. When the others heard this, their eyes almost popped out. Wasn't this business too shrewd? She had tripled the price just by raising it. Ziqin smiled and shook his head. 3 robes isn't enough for everyone. Forget it. He actually rejected it. Everyone felt their minds were in a mess. Did they meet an idiot? Fong Wuling extended her hand and said, 5 robes then. I'll give you 5 magic spirit robes. Come with me this time. Zi Chen still shook his head and did not agree. Fong Wuling glanced at Fong Wulian, who was smiling in an attempt to curry favor, and immediately said with a straight face, Zi Chen, how can you be so unappreciative? Wuling has invited you. This is a great honor for you. Why don't you accept? Fong Wuling waved her hand and said, forget it. The person you find is probably the same as you. He's not presentable. I dare to give him 5 magic spirit robes. Does he have the guts to take them? With that, Fong Wuling turned and left. Fong Wulian followed behind her and sent her to the door. Only then did everyone come back to their senses. So she was just toying with him. But seeing him in person was better than hearing about him. This time, they met Fong Wuling and naturally knew Fong Wulian's true status in the Fong family. If not for sucking up to his brother and sister, how could he be so famous? Now, they even began to doubt if Fong Wulian could take out a magic spirit robe. Fong Wulian walked back without a trace of displeasure on his face. It was as if he was already used to this kind of thing and didn't feel that losing face in front of others was a shameful thing. He looked at them and said, Do you still want to challenge me? They looked at each other in dismay. After what had happened, they had to think carefully for their own sake. After a slight hesitation, everyone shook their heads, indicating that they would not challenge him. Moreover, there were a few people who directly bid farewell and left. Zi Chen sat at the side in silence, but he kept an eye on everyone. When people left, there would naturally be people who stayed. No matter where one was, there would never be a lack of smart people. Zi Chen didn't stay for too long, nor did he have a heart-to-heart talk with Fong Wulian. Through today's conversation, he had a very pessimistic attitude towards the following journey. Fong Wulian did not continue to urge Zi Chen to stay. After Fong Wuling's incident, the party that he had spent a lot of blue crystal coins to hold was completely ruined. To put it simply, he had suffered a double loss after trying to persuade Zi Chen. After returning to his residence, Zi Chen went to find old Tang and told him what happened today. Are you sure that the Fong family opened the Bamboo Sea World? Old Tang was obviously very surprised because everyone knew that the Bamboo Sea World was the biggest secret of the Fong family. How could such a secret be open to the public? Moreover, there seemed to be no limit to the number of people who could enter. Zi Chen nodded. He believed that Fong Wulian wouldn't joke about this kind of thing. No matter what the final result is, there will be a magic spirit robe as the reward. This is a big deal. Either he is deliberately trying to befriend you, or he is plotting something. Old Tang said, I think so too. Fong Wuling was willing to give me 5 magic spirit robes. Although it was a big joke, it could also mean that even if he promised to give you these things, it depends on whether you are alive to receive them. Zi Chen also said. Old Tang looked at Zi Chen. What are you worried about? That there are dangers inside? Zi Chen shook his head and said, This is only one part of it, but not all. I am worried that I won't be able to return alive. Since it was the place where the Fong family started, there would naturally be many secrets inside. There might even be opportunities. Even if there were benefits inside, how could he guarantee that he would be able to return alive? This was what Zi Chen was most worried about. Old Tang pondered for a moment and said, This is not easy to decide. We need more information. Zi Chen said, Thank you. Old Tang asked again, What if I ask you to give up? Zi Chen hesitated for a moment and said, This is a promise that I cannot refuse. However, if it really involves my life, I will refuse. Obviously, Zi Chen was not an inflexible person. He was still flexible when it came to things. Just as Old Tang was gathering information and Zi Chen was hesitating, the other direct descendants of the Fong clan began to recruit troops and buy horses. As expected, the news of the Bamboo Sea World being open to the outside world was leaked. For a moment, it caused a huge commotion in Fenglin City. Many forces were beginning to get restless. However, there were too many people who signed up, so the direct descendants of the Feng family had to limit the number of people they could bring. 100. Each person could only bring 100 human soul realm experts, and the human soul realm was the highest level allowed in the Bamboo Sea world. Of course, they could also bring soul emptiness and soul realm experts, but no one would do that. In the past few days, the city had become very crazy. Even the entire Feng family had become crazy. Those who were not qualified to become direct descendants were all thinking of ways to become direct descendants. They were not fighting for the position of successor, but for the great opportunities in the Bamboo Sea world. Obviously, even the Feng family had become unstable. The entire Fenglin city seemed to have become crazy, and Zichen became more and more uneasy. He called the three of them together and said directly, "This time the three of you will stay in Fenglin city and wait for me to return." "Why? This opportunity is very rare." Xiao asked doubtfully. Lan Gumeng and Shan, you did not have any doubts. Zi Chen's intentions were all for their own good, and this time would be no exception. "I'm very uneasy. I keep feeling that things are not so simple," Zi Chen said. Xiao said, "The Feng family opening the Bamboo Sea world is already unusual, but there are too many forces going in this time. Even if the Feng family has evil intentions, they wouldn't dare to attack all the forces, right? They don't have the guts and strength to do so." Zichen shook his head and said, "I still insist on my thoughts. Perhaps in the end I will stay." This made Xiao even more surprised. When others saw an opportunity, they would crazily fight for it, but Zichen actually made people avoid it. Just as the situation was in a deadlock, a secret letter was sent to the inn. It was personally opened by Xiao. Only Xiao could open it. After reading the contents of the secret letter, Xiao's expression could not help but change. Then, when she looked at Zichen, there was a strange look in her eyes. "What's wrong?" Zichen looked at Xiao and said, "Is it that your family also doesn't agree to this? Take a look for yourself." Xiao handed over the secret letter. Zichen poured his soul power into it and saw a soul remembrance left behind. Chapter 3902. Hearing that old voice, Zichen was stunned and couldn't believe his ears. He looked at Shijiu and asked, "Do you know who he is?" Shijiu nodded. "Of course I do." Zichen asked again, "Then did he say something wrong and tell you not to go to the Bamboo Sea world?" Shijiu didn't answer and asked back, "What do you think?" Zichen was speechless. Other people would avoid danger as much as they could, but this family was different. They were rushing to deliver themselves to their doorstep. Shijiu continued, "You don't have any objections now, right?" Zichen nodded helplessly. The other party's words not only decided Shijiu's direction, but also his. Now he couldn't refuse, even if he wanted to. At this time, old Tang's voice sounded in Zichen's mind. "As long as you can come out, no one can hurt you." The silent Zichen nodded and felt more confident. Then he looked at Lan Gumeng and Shanya. "In that case, the four of us will go together." The two naturally didn't have any objections. Fenglin City, Feng Wulian, had his own courtyard in the Feng family's huge courtyard. The soul power here was extremely abundant. Although it couldn't be ranked in the top 5 in the entire Feng family, it was still in the top 20. It was enough to see his status in the Feng family. However, this was only on the surface. The truth was that over the years his courtyard had been coveted by one direct descendant after another. He had already changed 3 times. Shan Kuei came to the door and knocked. "Come in." In the room, Feng Wulian raised his eyelids and said indifferently. Shan Kuei pushed the door open and entered, then carefully closed the door. Feng Wulian leaned his chin on the table and was in a daze. "Young master, something seems wrong," Shan Kuei said cautiously. "What?" Feng Wulian said weakly. The others seemed to have gone crazy these days. constantly recruiting people. The original few successors have increased by half this time. There must be something wrong. Shan Kuei said in a deep voice, "How can the family allow so many outsiders to enter the Bamboo Sea world? You have to know, that is a place that young master has never been. If you can see that something is wrong, then even a fool can see it." Fong Wulian was still weak. "I don't know what exactly happened. With my connections in the family, no one will tell me." Shan Kuei said, "The first young master and the third young lady must know." Fong Wulian said, "So what? Do you want me to play the fool in front of them again, and then be humiliated in public?" Thinking of the countless scenes that had happened before, Shan Kuei did not say anything more. "How's Zichen doing? Did you come into contact with anyone else?" Fong Wulian suddenly asked. Shan Kuei shook his head and said, "No, he has been staying in the inn and rarely goes out. I haven't found him contacting anyone." Fong Wulian said in bewilderment, "That shouldn't be the case. Others are ignorant and don't know how strong Zichen is, but Fong Wulian knows very well. Just one Zichen is enough to turn the sacred mountain into a mess. There are even rumors that the change of the two mountain masters is related to him. How could she not get in touch with such an important person? How could she not try to recruit him?" Shan Kuei scratched his head and said, "Maybe she's already recruited enough experts and they haven't seen Zichen's true strength? That's why she ignored him." Fong Wulian sat up and said, "Impossible. Then she thinks that if word gets out that she stole the young master's woman, people will laugh at her?" Shan Kuei asked again. Fong Wulian's lips suddenly curved into a mocking smile. "That's even more impossible. Others don't understand that bitch, but I do. Face is nothing in her eyes. If someone wants to help her and wants her body, she will offer it without hesitation." Shan Kuei tactfully did not reply. At the same time, he carefully looked around the room. After seeing the talisman papers that were still glowing, he relaxed. The walls might have ears. Fong Wulian pondered for a moment, then slapped the table and said, "This matter is indeed strange. Go and tell Zichen that this trip might be extremely dangerous and that he should be careful. We're warning him out of kindness. What if Zichen takes the opportunity to increase the price?" Shan Kuei was somewhat worried. "Tell him to wait until we enter the Bamboo Sea world." "Yes." Outside Fonglan City, two figures flew across the sky. One was wearing a Taoist robe. He was obviously a Taoist with white hair and a youthful face. The other was wearing a black robe and was very old. The Taoist looked at the city below and said, "We're already here. Don't you want to see your granddaughter?" The old man in the black robe said, "No, let her be." After flying past Fonglan City, the Taoist said, "Old Chin, tell me the truth. Can Shijio really be safe this time? Let me tell you, I can give up the great foundation of the Sea family, but I can't let Shijio be in danger." The Taoist-robed old Chin said, "Don't worry." The old man in the black robe said, "Don't worry. You always tell me not to worry, but how can I not worry? Last time, when we went to the Holy Mountain, it was you who showed us the way, but what happened? Even under our eyes, we almost let the rascals get away with it." The Taoist said, "You're talking about the result. That didn't happen. The real result was that she was safe and even entered the 4th level of the Holy Mountain and obtained a technique. Although that's the case, the Bamboo Sea world of the Fong family is too mysterious. Even you and I don't dare to go there, let alone them. Moreover, the Fong family is so generous this time. There must be a trap." Hearing the worry in the old man's words, the Taoist stopped teasing him and said seriously, "With the Sea family's change, Shijio is not safe anywhere in the Bamboo Sea world. Although I can't see it clearly and don't dare to say much, I can tell you that Shijio's trip this time will be with the help of the heavens." "The heavens are helping? You're talking about Zichen. I admit that he's stronger than ordinary people, but you're comparing a descender to the heavens. Isn't that a bit ridiculous?" The Taoist said, "The heavens are mysterious and unfathomable. How can you and I see through it? Since we've already made this choice, we can only wait and see. After sending Shan Kuei away, Zichen fell into deep thought again. Even Fong Wulian didn't know what was going on, so what was the Fong family doing this time? On the second day, people came to visit one after another. They were all people from the Fong family, and they were all people who had obtained a direct descendant quota. However, Zichen didn't see any of them because it was meaningless. During this time, Fong Wulian didn't send anyone else. On the fifth day, Shan Kuei came again. After saying a few words of praise, he also told Zichen that everyone would enter the Bamboo Sea World in 3 days and told him to be prepared. At the same time, Shan Kuei also formally asked Zichen how many people there were. The answer was naturally 4. Shan Kuei patted his chest and told him that the quota wasn't a problem. Chapter 3903. It was already the appointed time. All the people in the city who were qualified to participate in this event had left their residences and were heading towards the Fong clan. Since they were heading towards the Fong clan's Bamboo Sea World, the entrance was naturally within the Fong clan. However, everyone was stopped outside the Fong clan's main gate. Everyone was gathered in a temporarily built square, and it was crowded with people. Noises constantly rang out, and all kinds of people were calling out to their friends. It was as if they had arrived at a lively market. Zichen, over here. Zichen heard Shan Kuei's voice. The other party was standing at a high point, and he kept waving at Zichen. He seemed to be a little excited. Zichen and the other 3 walked towards Shan Kuei. This time, Old Tang did not follow them. Along the way, many people looked at them, but most of them were looking at the 3 girls with outstanding temperaments. Zichen, who was extremely famous in the Sagely Mountain City, did not stand out here. After the last gathering, Zichen saw Fong Wulian again. The seat that Fong Wulian occupied was definitely the best one. In the entire Fong clan, there was almost no direct descendant who liked Fong Wulian. However, to outsiders, everyone had to give some face to this second-generation ancestor. After all, his brother and sister were extraordinary existences in the Fong clan. Even if the 2 sides did not get along, they still had to give some face. However, compared to the advantageous positions, the people that Fong Wulian had recruited this time were not very good. Although all of them were at the human soul stage, from the aura that flowed around them, most of them were existences that were not worth mentioning. Even if a large group of people at this level came, they could not threaten Zichen. After Fong Wulian saw Zichen, a sincere smile immediately appeared on his face. He quickly walked forward and put his arm around Zichen's shoulder in a familiar manner. "My captain, great leader, you're finally here." Zichen smiled and allowed the other party to put his arm around his shoulder. He did not care about giving others the impression that the 2 of them had a very good relationship. However, Xiao who was behind him, snorted and did not give Fong Wulian a good look. "Little girl, you're here too?" Fong Wulian naturally didn't forget to tease Shijiao. However, he knew that she had a big Missy's temper, so he knew when to stop. Fong Wulian and Zichen went to a high place. Zichen pointed to the crowd below and said, "These are my men. What do you think? They're all elites, right?" Zichen's gaze swept across the crowd. During this time, many pairs of eyes met with him. They did not give in at all, and there was obvious provocation in their eyes. It was as if these people were really elites and did not want to submit to Zichen, their leader. Zichen said expressionlessly, "Yes, all of them are elites. It's not easy to find so many elites at once." Zichen's tone was so calm that Fong Wulian couldn't tell if he was being sincere or just mocking him. He laughed and said, "If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble you as a captain to lead them well and strive for great gains for everyone." The smile on his face faded. Fong Wulian looked at the crowd and said, "Everyone, this is the Zichen I mentioned to you before. From now on, Zichen will be your captain. When you enter the Bamboo Sea World, all of your actions will be under his command. The provocative gazes did not disappear. There were even people who were eager to challenge Ziqin on the spot. The reward for being the captain was too generous. No one was willing to give it up. After we enter, if anyone dares to disobey Ziqin's orders, then don't blame me for being rude. Fang Wulian's voice suddenly turned cold. Those provocative gazes also retracted a little. Ziqin looked into the distance. The teams separated from each other. He estimated that there were about 30 teams. Each team had 200 people. There were nearly 30 teams. The number of people added up this time was comparable to the number of people in the Sacred Mountains assessment. After all, there were still many Soul Realm experts in the Sacred Mountains assessment at that time. Among these teams, the strong and the weak could be clearly distinguished. For example, the two teams beside Ziqin. Everyone stood upright and silent like well-trained soldiers. Moreover, the auras surging around them were also very strong. One look and one could tell that they were elites. Fang Wulian's team was clearly a loose soldier, and the kind that couldn't be shown in public. Where's the entrance? The surroundings were still unable to quiet down because of the problem of people. Ziqin took the opportunity to ask Fang Wulian. Fang Wulian shook his head and said, "To be honest, I'm not sure either. I was actually quite surprised to open the bamboo sea world this time. What I know is not much different from what you know." Ziqin looked at Fang Wulian, clearly not believing him. Fang Wulian lowered his voice and said, "I have no need to lie to you. I only have this one chance left. I have to seize it. You are my only hope. Of course, I will tell you everything I know." This kind of noisy situation lasted for a full hour before it ended. A tyrannical aura belonging to the Earth Soul realm suddenly appeared in the sky. This caused everyone's gaze to subconsciously look towards the sky. The scene gradually quieted down. It's rare for everyone to be able to participate in my Fang clan's prosperity this time. I hope that everyone will be able to gain quite a bit after entering the Bamboo Sea world. The Earth Soul realm used this as an opening speech. After everyone's attention was attracted, he continued, "However, the Bamboo Sea world is extremely dangerous. Over the years, many of our Fang clan's heroes have lost their lives. Therefore, I would like to advise everyone not to be greedy after entering. Quit while you're ahead." The Earth Soul realm extended 2 fingers and said, "This time, entering the world is mainly divided into 2 stages. The first stage is very dangerous. Everyone will be able to gain some benefits and accumulate some points, which can be exchanged for some resources that you need. If anyone is willing to quit, then you can leave with your gains without any responsibility. As for the second stage, you will need to assist my Fang clan in completing the mission. Once you succeed, you will be able to obtain generous rewards. Of course, the danger will also be greater. This is because it is an unknown place, a place that we have never explored before." The surroundings were completely silent. Everyone was listening to the Earth Soul realm. He continued, "I guarantee on the Fang clan's reputation that this trip to the Bamboo Sea world will only be open to human soul realm cultivators. It will be absolutely fair." Cheers could be heard in the quiet square. "All right, let's not waste any more time. This time we have spent quite a bit of resources to open up a temporary passage. You can enter in groups." A simple and unadorned jade token appeared in this Earth Soul realm expert's hand. He lightly shook his hand and the jade token fell to the ground, turning into a wide and large door. The door could allow 12 people to pass through at once. Chapter 3904. Just as the passage opened, outside the square, several figures flew into the air. They were not in a hurry to enter the Bamboo Sea world, but they were from the Fang clan to prevent others from taking advantage of this loophole. This was because everyone who entered this time had to go through a strict and detailed registration process to prevent anyone from taking advantage of the situation. The first team moved. It was the leftmost team, but Zichen did not see their leader, or rather, he did not know who they worked for. "It's my big brother, Fong Wudao's people," Fong Wulian explained. "He's the first, Fong Wuling is the second, and we're the third to enter. How is it? My position in the clan is good, right?" Zichen did not reply but asked, "Where are they?" "They've already gone in to scout ahead," Fong Wulian said lightly. After all, this trip to the Bamboo Sea World is the most important to them. We're just going there to try our luck and see the world. Zichen understood Fong Wulian's concern, but he did not point out. Seeing the two teams enter the passage, Fong Wulian immediately shouted excitedly, "It's our turn. Everyone follow me." The people under him started to move. Fong Wulian walked in front, waving his hands back and forth, looking very proud. Shan Kuei followed closely behind. Zichen's position was slightly behind, and Lan Gumeng and the other two had already caught up. Then it was the people following Fong Wulian. In the sky, there were several powerful existences staring coldly at the entrance. On one hand, they were guarding against unruly people. At the same time, after a team had all entered, there would be a person in charge of forming seals. During this time, a ray of light would fall into the entrance. There were many people outside who wanted to join in the fun. When they saw that the Fong clan had actually made a temporary entrance, many of them revealed regretful expressions. The Fong clan's actions completely destroyed the hopes of those who wanted to know where the entrance to the Bamboo Sea World was. The teams entered one after another in an orderly manner. As the third person to enter, Zichen naturally had the advantage of time. When they appeared, Zichen first saw a cliff. The cliff was filled with smoke, and the bottom could not be seen. At this moment, Zichen and his team were right next to the cliff. Zichen turned around. Behind him was a field of green grass that extended into the distance. At the end of his line of sight was a bamboo forest. "This is the Bamboo Sea World?" Zichen asked. "That's right, it's here." Fong Wulian pointed ahead and said, "If I'm not wrong, the opportunity that everyone wants is in that bamboo forest." "What's under the cliff behind us?" Zichen asked again. Fong Wulian pondered for a moment before saying, "It's the end." "The end." Zichen was slightly stunned. Fong Wulian nodded. "The end of the Bamboo Sea World, but it can also be said to be the beginning." Of course, Zichen understood this explanation. He didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he walked forward at a slow pace. Many people overtook Zichen, but considering what Fong Wulian had said previously, they deliberately slowed down. However, when they looked back at Zichen from time to time, their eyes would be filled with emotions. "The opportunity is right ahead. How do you plan on arranging them?" Fong Wulian asked. Zichen revealed an inexplicable smile. He waved his hand and said, "You're free to move about." The human soul realm cultivators walking in front were stunned when they heard that. They looked at Zichen in disbelief. Even Fong Wulian was slightly taken aback. Shan Kuei wanted to ask Zichen if he had said something wrong. "As the leader, are you sure you don't command everyone to act in unison?" Zichen said again, "You're free to move about. Go and find your opportunity." Zichen repeated himself before everyone dispersed. However, many people sneered at Zichen as they left. Clearly, they concluded that it was because Zichen didn't have the guts to command them. Looking at the departing crowd, Fong Wulian asked in puzzlement, "Why? No matter how strong you are, you can't compare to a team, right?" Zichen said, "Didn't your family clan say that there are opportunities in the first stage? The danger is relatively low. Let them try their luck." "That makes sense." Fong Wulian nodded with a smile. Zichen continued walking unhurriedly as he looked ahead. At that moment, some of the faster ones had already entered the bamboo forest, but soon light appeared in the bamboo forest. Following that, there were energy fluctuations from a battle. They must have encountered a bamboo monster, a mutated plant. It's a little difficult to deal with, but once it's killed, its main body can be used to refine weapons. It can be considered one of the opportunities here. Fong Wulian, who was walking beside Ziqin, explained. At that moment, only the 6 of them were still walking unhurriedly in the grassland. The others had entered the bamboo forest. The fluctuations from the battle kept spreading. From the looks of it, there were quite a number of bamboo monsters inside. Why don't you tell me what else is here? Ziqin said indifferently. Fong Wulian looked around and said expressionlessly, I don't know. I really don't know. Ziqin didn't ask any more questions. However, Shoer said unhappily, who would believe you? You don't know? Who are you trying to fool? I say, little grandaunt, I really don't know. This is my Lan family secret. This is my first time here. How could I know? Fong Wulian said with a sad face. Lan Gumeng and Shan Yu both looked at Fong Wulian with strange expressions. His reaction was a little unreasonable. It didn't match his usual playboy personality. Ziqin raised his hand and said with a smile, It's better that you don't know. This is because it's more challenging. Who knows? We might be able to get an unexpected reward here. After saying that, Ziqin increased his speed. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he headed straight for the bamboo forest. He understood Fong Wulian's meaning, so he didn't want to appear too happy. As more and more teams entered the bamboo sea world, the spectators outside saw images appear in the sky above the square. The images showed everyone who had just entered the bamboo sea world. Just like the Sacred Mountains test, everyone's various performances were shown on the images. Outside the square, there were cries of surprise. Many people's faces were filled with amazement. The person who spoke earlier said with a smile, After many years of exploration, we can only monitor a part of the bamboo sea's periphery. We've made a fool of ourselves. Although he said it was a fool, the pride on this earth soul's face couldn't be concealed. This was the first time the bamboo sea world appeared before the eyes of the world. After seeing the bamboo sea world's appearance, many of the spectators became excited. During this period, many people began to use secret techniques to try to contact the people who had entered. Clearly, they wanted to find the coordinates of the bamboo sea world. Chapter 3905. As they entered the bamboo forest, the surrounding bamboos emitted faint soul power fluctuations. It was obvious that they were extremely good items. Even the outermost emerald bamboos can be refined into weapons. It's just that the grade is slightly lower. People like you and I naturally wouldn't be interested in them, but for those of lower cultivation, they are truly good items. After entering the bamboo forest, Fong Wulian took the initiative to introduce them to Ziqin. Ziqin extended his hand and lightly tapped the bamboo with his finger. The bamboo began to vibrate irregularly, emitting a buzzing sound. He nodded his head and said, It's indeed not bad. Fong Wulian felt his eyelids tremble a little. This was because at the place where Ziqin's finger tapped, small cracks had clearly appeared on the bamboo. It was only a light tap, but it actually had such power. If he used a little more force, wouldn't it directly break? Just how strong was his physical body? At this moment, a ray of light appeared in front of them. A strange creature about 3 meters tall appeared. Its entire body was dark green. It had hands and feet, but they were all made of bamboo. Its head was an irregular square shape. It was a bamboo monster that was naturally born here. As soon as it appeared, it began to attack the group. It had no intelligence and no method of attack. A sharp whistle suddenly sounded. A blue light flew out in front of Lan Gumeng. Before the bamboo monster's attack arrived, it directly pierced through its body. In the next moment, the bamboo monster's body collapsed, and a green bamboo joint fell to the ground. Bamboo monsters, also known as bamboo monsters, have 9 grades. This type of monster is considered the weakest type. Seeing the bamboo joint on the ground, Fong Wulian continued, However, its degree of hardness is several grades higher than these emerald bamboos. Right now, even if it's the lowest grade, it can still be considered an opportunity here. Lan Gumeng walked forward and bent down to pick up the bamboo joint. At this moment, a brilliant light circulated in front of her. A jade tablet that seemed to be carved from emerald bamboos appeared. At this moment, the number 1 appeared on the jade tablet. Fong Wulian continued, "These are points. When you reach the depths, you can use them to exchange for resources." Lan Gumeng took the jade tablet, turned around, and handed the bamboo in her hand to Ziqin. Ziqin took it and looked at it a few times, then tried to pinch it. Indeed, the quality was much better than the bamboo around them. These things might be useless to him, but they were extremely important to the development of a power. And this was only the periphery of the bamboo sea world. If there was such a fortuitous encounter, then what would there be in the depths? No wonder the Fong clan had a foundation comparable to the sacred mountain. They continued to move forward, and the bamboo monsters appeared one by one. Shijiao and Shan Yu made their moves one after another. When they obtained the bamboo knots, they also obtained the corresponding jade bamboo tokens. However, each person could only obtain 1 jade token. Zichen still didn't make a move, and neither did Fong Wulian. All the bamboo monsters in front of him that tried to attack him were all killed by Shan Kuei. Zichen looked up at the sky. It was blue without any clouds, so he couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. However, since Fong Wulian couldn't say anything, it was clear that there was something wrong with this place. Zichen felt quite confused. Why did the Fong clan want to open up this bamboo sea world? Weren't they worried that other powers would be jealous and attack the Fong clan? The bamboo ahead swayed as a powerful aura swept out, and an even larger bamboo monster appeared. "This is a 2-jointed monster." Fong Wulian's voice sounded out, as if he was the most suitable explanation. The underworld ghost, who had been resting on Zichen's shoulder, suddenly flew forwards. Its body was extremely small, but it was incredibly strong. Its small claws slammed into the bamboo monster's head, and following a loud explosion, the 2-jointed monster's body was shattered, leaving behind a 2-jointed bamboo stick. The underworld ghost picked it up and brought back a jade token with the number 2 on it. Zichen took it, while the underworld ghost turned and entered the depths of the bamboo sea world. Evidently, it felt that this was quite interesting. There were continuous explosions in front of them. The underworld ghost must be fighting with the bamboo monsters. When the underworld ghost picked up the bamboo stick, the number on the jade token would also increase. The deeper they went, the stronger the bamboo monsters they would encounter. Monsters with 3 legs, 4 legs, and 5 legs. As their ranks increased, the quality of the bamboo sticks they would encounter would also increase. So far, Zichen had yet to make a move. The underworld ghost was the one fighting because it liked to fight and would take the initiative to attack. Therefore, among the group, Zichen had contributed the most, more than 100 points. "Your pet is nice. How about selling it to me? I'll give you a set of armor." Fong Wulian was very interested as he watched the underworld ghost fight. "The one that I blew up last time?" Zichen asked casually. Fong Wulian smiled and didn't mention it again. "There's a chance, but no danger. Fong Wulian, the Fong family is really generous this time." Shijiao put away her soul weapon and darted a look at Fong Wulian. "Young lady, you're right." Fong Wulian said proudly, "The Fong family doesn't have much, but we have a lot of money and resources. Let's not talk about other things first. Just the bamboo sticks you've obtained this time will sell for a good price when you bring them back." He patted his chest and said, "This is called a foundation, the foundation of the Fong family." At this moment, many people who were watching the battle were envious. Because of their previous concerns, many people thought that there must be a trap this time. Who would have thought that it would turn out like this? None of the human soul realm warriors who entered had their lives threatened. Their harvest had already reached a point where even human soul realm warriors would be envious. Many people were annoyed. If they had entered in the beginning, they would have also obtained such a huge harvest. There was almost no danger along the way. It was only when they encountered the 7 legs that they became slightly more troublesome. However, when they worked together, they were able to kill the 7 legs quickly and reap the rewards. Under the watchful eyes of countless people, the Fong family was doing a good deed this time. The human soul realm warriors who entered had obtained so many benefits that it made people envious. Finally, the 9-segment bamboo, left behind by the 9-segment monster, was even more dazzling. Even if one did not deliberately forge it, it was already a soul weapon by itself. Where should one go to find such a place of opportunity? Not only that, but when they were moving forward, they could also obtain some additional contribution points. These contribution points could also be exchanged for various resources. Finally, they reached the end of the bamboo forest. The first part of the opportunity was the bamboo sticks. They could sell them or leave them for the family to use. They were all excellent things. The second part of the opportunity was to exchange for the contribution points they obtained along the way. Chapter 3906. The place where they could exchange for contribution points was at the end of the bamboo forest, right in front of everyone. There were huge green bamboos that were comparable to ancient trees, and in front of each green bamboo, there was a green bamboo spirit that floated and danced around the green bamboo. The opportunity to exchange for contribution points was right in front of them, but no one immediately went over. After arriving at the end of the bamboo forest, almost everyone looked up at the sky. There were 2 people standing in the air, a man and a woman. More than 90% of the human soul experts who had come here knew the 2 of them. Even those who did not know them quickly guessed their identities from the changes in the expressions of the surrounding people. They were Fong Wudao and Fong Wuling, who had come in early. Fong Wudao was wearing the magic robe unique to the Fong family, and it shone brightly. He, who was already extraordinarily handsome, stood with his hands behind his back as he looked at the people who had walked to the end. Fong Wuling stood beside him, her spirit robe fluttering in the wind. Her beautiful face was exceptionally eye-catching. Almost subconsciously, all the human soul experts who came here stopped and looked at the sky in silence. The 2 of them must have a reason for doing this. Perhaps they had something to say. Sure enough, after a while, Fong Wudao moved. He first cupped his fists at everyone, and then said, "Everyone, if you're just here to join in the fun, then you can leave. The following journey will be extremely dangerous, and you may even lose your life." He pointed at the other end of the sky, and a ray of light shot out from his fingertip. The space there began to distort, and a door of light that was much smaller than when they entered appeared. This is the passage to leave. After exchanging for your contribution points, you can leave if you want to leave. Fong Wudao said again, "I repeat, the depths are extremely dangerous. If you're not prepared, then please leave." The surroundings were silent and no one spoke. Before coming here, the Fong clan's Earth Soul Realm expert had reminded them that if they left now, they wouldn't have to bear any consequences and could take away all the things they had obtained. It was time for everyone to make a choice. Shiju looked at the sky and then at Ziqin with obvious doubt and inquiry in her eyes. Was the Fong family really that good? One had to know that they had gained a lot this time, and their gains were almost enough to make a family rise. This was their gain, but the Fong family's loss. Ziqin shook his head, indicating that he did not know. "May I ask, young Master Fong, other than the dangers in the depths, are there also opportunities?" At this moment, a voice sounded from the crowd. Fong Wudao replied, "Of course there will be opportunities, even more than what you have encountered before. But I still stand by what I said before. Compared to opportunities, the danger is actually greater. I don't recommend that you all follow in. For those who are weaker, retreating now is actually the right choice. Do you intend to force us to leave?" Another voice came from another direction. Fong Wudao smiled and said, "Of course not. It's up to you whether to advance or retreat. I'm just here to remind everyone out of goodwill. Once you enter the depths, life and death are up to fate." Fong Wudao no longer tried to persuade them. Instead, he looked at his own team and said, "Quickly exchange for some items and follow me deeper." Yes, a loud and clear voice came from below. Then those people began to move. Fong Wudao did not suppress his voice, so everyone heard it clearly. Even the people in the outside world heard it through the square. The word items was particularly attractive. Many people were curious as to what kind of items it was. Everyone began to exchange, but there were too many people here. There were only so many exchange points, so they had to line up. Zichen and the others were the latest to arrive, so they were naturally at the back of the line. He did not use his authority as the leader to compete with the others. Instead, he slowly waited. Fong Wudao and Fong Wuling had already landed. They began to instruct their own people to exchange in an orderly manner. During this time, the two of them used some kind of secret technique, and the number of little fairies on their side clearly increased. In other places, the leaders were also performing their roles. They arranged for everyone to exchange. Compared to everyone else, Zichen was too irresponsible. Of course, from another point of view, it was also because Zichen, as the leader, could not control his subordinates. Fong Wuling, the third direct descendant of the Fong clan to enter, did not rush Zichen. Like Zichen, he occasionally scanned the crowd. However, unlike Zichen, he often paid attention to some outstanding female cultivators. His gaze was very unscrupulous as he sized up the other party's figure. This was how a spoiled brat should look like. Cheers would occasionally erupt from the front, but there were also voices of doubt. Zichen finally retracted his gaze. He asked, "What's with the items?" Fong Wuling pointed to the depths and said, "There will be danger inside. If you exchange for some items here, there will be a certain chance of reducing the corresponding danger." Zichen saw that after someone finished exchanging, he did not immediately leave. Instead, he walked to the other side. Interesting. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. After waiting patiently, it was finally their turn. Zichen walked forward. When he reached the front, the bamboo fairies flew forward and a wave of soul power appeared. This wave of soul power entered Zichen's sea of consciousness. In the next moment, it turned into pictures. Under each picture, there was a note. Detoxification fruit, able to detoxify bamboo poison, 5 contribution points. Clear heart and clear eyes liquid, able to break camouflage, 10 contribution points. Exploding fruit, 20 contribution points. Invisible leaf, 30 contribution points. Aside from the various items, there were also many soul weapons and defensive armors. There were so many that even Zichen, who had traveled extensively, was dazzled and moved. There was even a full set of armor on the last page. However, the cost was also very high, requiring 10,000 contribution points. Along the way, Zichen had only obtained a bit more than 1,000 contribution points. You even have a full set of armor. Your Fong clan is truly rich. Zichen couldn't help but sigh. If someone knew about this in advance, as long as they stayed in the bamboo forest and fought, they would be able to exchange for as many armors as there were here. No wonder so many people showed regretful expressions before. So that's the reason. These armors are not from the Fong clan, but from the bamboo sea world. Have you forgotten that the reason why my Fong clan was able to prosper was all because of the bamboo sea world? Fong Wuling replied. Zichen's expression changed. This is interesting. It's a pity that I can't turn back. Otherwise, Zichen would really want to get 10,000 contribution points to see what the armors here are like. Are they made of bamboo? Soul weapons and armors are not very useful here. You should exchange for as many items as you can. The more the better. They will be very useful in the depths. Chapter 3907. Zi Chan exchanged all of the contribution points in the jade token for items. If his senses were not wrong, there might be great danger ahead. The three women also followed Zi Chen's instructions and exchanged enough fruit items. After the exchange, Zi Chen scanned the surroundings and found that there were many people waiting for him. If Zi Chen's memory was not wrong, those people waiting were all from his team. They who were free to move now chose to wait. He glanced at Fong Wulian beside him and said with a smile, "I didn't expect these elites you found to be so loyal to you." Fong Wulian understood this time. This was not a compliment, but a mocking one. However, he did not become angry and instead asked, "What do you plan to do?" "Let's go in and take a look first." Zi Chan walked forward. He had promised Fong Wulian, so he could not leave. The passage in the sky was still there, but so far no one had left. Thinking about it, how many years would it take for such an opportunity to appear? Who would want to miss it? If he was not mistaken, many of these people came from other families, and they all had ulterior motives. No one would leave before seeing the greatest secret of the Bamboo Sea world. In fact, Zi Chin still had a doubt in his heart. Could the passage in the sky really leave? "Second young master, what should we do now?" Wang Jie, who Zi Chen had seen before, walked over with a dozen people behind him. Fong Wulian looked at Zi Chen and said, "Zi Chen is the leader, you should ask him." Apart from Wang Jie, there were nearly 100 people standing there, not moving. Each of the Fong family's direct descendants could bring 200 people in. At this moment, those who did not wait were all because of Zi Chen's words. After exchanging for resources, they directly entered. Not only did they not put Zi Chen in their eyes, but they also did not put Fong Wulian in their eyes. However, in Zi Chen's eyes, these people were the most adorable. Wang Zhe looked at Zi Chen with an unfriendly gaze. Zi Chen waved his hand and said, "You can do whatever you want." "What did you say?" Wang Zhe's eyes turned cold. "Move freely and act according to the circumstances. Try to get as many resources as you can so that you won't have come here in vain," Zi Chen said again, his voice still calm. "Did second young master ask you to come here so that you can move freely? Are you courting death?" Wang Zhe said indifferently, "You don't care about second young master's life and death, but we still have to protect second young master. We won't let him be threatened." Wang Zhe turned around and looked at the crowd in the distance. "Don't you agree?" "Yes." A loud and clear voice sounded. It was obvious that there were many supporters. Zi Chen was amused. This was quite interesting. Wang Zhe turned around and cupped his fists at Fong Wulian. "Second young master, from now on, we will be responsible for your safety. Don't worry, I won't compete with this guy for the position of leader, and I won't accept his reward. The only reason we're here is because second young master gave us a chance. We can't be ungrateful people. We swear to protect second young master with our lives. We won't be ungrateful people." The voices sounded again, loud and clear. Many people in the distance looked over. They were already discussing whether to enter the depths, but this side was still expressing their loyalty. Hearing Wang Zhe's words, Fong Wulian was very emotional and moved. He immediately went up and patted Wang Zhe's shoulder, saying, "Wang Zhe, you're so considerate. Everyone is considerate too. Don't worry, no matter what the final result is, I won't mistreat anyone. From now on, as long as I, Fong Wulian, eat, everyone will drink." While the people here were impassioned, on the other side, Fong Wulian had already led his people into the depths. Fong Wuling also left, but before she left, she glanced at Fong Wulian with a strange expression. Coincidentally, her casual glance was seen by Zi Chen. "Humph, you still have the face to stay here. If I were you, I would have died of shame." After expressing his loyalty, Wang Zhe looked at Zi Chen and snorted coldly. Zi Chen picked his ear and said obscenely, "You're not going to fight with me for the reward of the leader, so why can't I stay here? You guys do the work, and I take the final reward." Isn't that better? You, Wang Zhou was rebuked and trembled with anger. You're really shameless. Cut the crap. I let you move freely, but you don't want to. Don't blame me for giving the order. Zi Chen's expression suddenly became serious. He glanced at the crowd and said indifferently, Everyone in the team, go in immediately. With you loyal cannon fodder in the front line, I believe your second young master will be safe. As soon as he said that, of course, the crowd was angered again. Immediately a few people exploded, but they didn't go against Zichen. Instead, they left directly. Obviously, they were going to move freely. No one was willing to be cannon fodder, but it wasn't absolute. Wang Zhi didn't leave, and many others didn't either. So they could only listen to Zi Chen's orders and walk in front. The group walked past the exchange area. After about a few miles, they saw a bamboo forest. This time the bamboo forest had no end. Outside the bamboo forest, there was a layer of white fog. It was like a dense concentration of spiritual energy or some kind of miasma. Everyone took out their weapons. Fang Wulian's magic robe began to emit light. Shan Kuei had another set of armor on his body. He was fully armed at this moment. Shanya and Lan Gumeng both took out their weapons. Yu Gui stood on Zi Chen's shoulder and looked forward vigilantly. Shijiao was the closest to Zi Chen. Because she was the weakest, she needed protection. The group of people entered the white fog. In the square outside the Fang family, after everyone stepped into the white fog, the image in the sky became blank. The Earth Soul Realm expert from before rose into the air and said with shame, Everyone, the image can only be seen here. We can't monitor the deeper areas yet. Many people had regretful looks on their faces, and some people even had a bad feeling in their hearts. They thought that they could keep watching their performance. This way, not only could they see the Fang family secret, but they could also know everyone's situation. They didn't expect it to turn out like this. For a time, all kinds of discussions sounded. In the crowd, old Tang, who had appeared out of nowhere, saw the disappearing image and muttered, Is the hidden danger in the deeper areas? After entering the white fog, Zi Chen clearly felt that Fang Wulian, who was beside him, heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, he had something to say, but didn't say it clearly. Zi Chen understood some of it and didn't let the others ask. Tell me what happened this time. Zi Chen asked. Chapter 3908. Zi Chen stopped moving forward and looked at Fang Wulian in surprise. Give up this world. After coming to the periphery of this world, everyone's harvest was enough to strengthen a family. Naturally, there were more and better resources in the depths. It could be said that the Fang family was able to rise because they relied on this world to achieve their current status. Why give up? Even Shijiao was very surprised. Without this world, the first-rate Fang family would soon become a second-rate family. At this moment, there were only 6 people here, so Fang Wulian did not have any scruples. This is the information that I paid a huge price to obtain. It shouldn't be wrong. He looked forward and said faintly, Because some uncontrollable factors have appeared in this world. It seems that some kind of mutation has occurred, and it has become very dangerous. As if to verify Fang Wulian's words, a scream suddenly sounded. There were no casualties along the way, but just as they reached here, there were deaths. Following that, screams continuously sounded. It's the bamboo monsters. Retreat, retreat. Someone shouted loudly and began to retreat. However, the thick fog around them also began to roll and become thicker and sticky, greatly affecting everyone's vision. Even Zi Chen could only see within a range of 10 feet. Moreover, within this range, the thick fog seemed to be moving according to a certain trajectory. Wang Zhi led his men to the back. After seeing Fang Wulian, he shouted, Protect second young master! Everyone protected Fang Wulian. However, Shan Kuei, who was at the side, was clearly more vigilant against these people. As Fang Wulian's most loyal guard, he was vigilant against Zi Chen, let alone the others. Zi Chen's expression did not change much. He was still as calm as before. Screams continued to rise and fall. Ever since they appeared, they had not stopped. As the leader, why don't you go ahead and take a look? Are you going to let them die here? Wang Zhe looked back at Ziqin and criticized him in dissatisfaction. Leader? Now you know that I'm the leader? Sorry, it's too late. After moving freely, you are responsible for your own life and death. Ziqin responded indifferently. Moreover, if more people die, maybe the bamboo monsters will be merciful and not attack us. Wang Zhe gritted his teeth in hatred. The people beside him were also coldly staring at Ziqin. This leader was simply too shameless. Ziqin didn't care about this at all. He continued to follow behind, acting like an incompetent leader. From the beginning to the end, Fang Wulian did not say a word. Obviously, he approved of all of Ziqin's decisions and was very supportive of them. Previously, Ziqin had treated their expressions of sincerity as a joke, but Fang Wulian had treated it as a joke as well. The only difference was that he had cooperated with these monkeys to act out a touching scene. After entering the white fog, Fang Wuling and Fang Wudao's teams had already merged together. The two of them were walking at the back, while the people in the team were scouting ahead until they heard screams. Even though they were all elites, there were still casualties in an instant. Use the heart-purifying, eye-brightening liquid. However, unlike the panic of the other teams, Fang Wuling rationally commanded from the back. The people at the front all took out the spirit liquid that they had exchanged for earlier and swallowed it. The white fog in their vision gradually disappeared until everyone's vision was restored. One drop can only last for 2 hours. Everyone try to move faster. Fang Wuling continued. After their vision was restored, everyone's speed was clearly much faster. However, as they moved forward, the casualties continued to increase. Fang Wuling looked ahead, the ones that had killed her subordinates, with the green bamboos. After this mutation, the originally gentle green bamboos had become even more violent and powerful for some unknown reason. She carefully looked ahead and discovered that once the nearby bamboo had succeeded, they would become quiet and no longer attack anyone who passed by. After observing for a while, Fang Wuling said, "It seems like it is, as that person said. They are thirsting for blood. Once they have devoured enough, they will stop and return to their original, gentle state." Fang Wudao slowly nodded and said, "Perhaps he can really resolve the crisis of the bamboo sea this time. How is the situation over there?" Fang Wuling said, "Someone is watching. There shouldn't be any mistakes. All these years he's been pretending to be crazy, and we've always turned a blind eye to him. But recently, he's been getting more and more restless. Now he's even got the guts to think about the identity of the successor. Don't even think about leaving here alive. Just a bastard. Big brother, don't worry about him." Fang Wuling said indifferently, "Tell people to be careful. From the information I have gathered, that Ziqin beside him is indeed very strong and cannot be underestimated. Yes, I will tell people to be careful. However, don't worry too much. After all, this time, we do not plan on letting an outsider leave alive." Just as all the teams were slowly moving forward, a black-robed person came from behind. In this bamboo forest that had devoured many lives, he was strolling leisurely as if he was walking in his own garden. Along the way, not a single bamboo attacked him. The bamboo monsters that could previously transform seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep and became abnormally quiet. Sleeping so quickly, it seems that you in the depths are about to change. The black-robed person smiled faintly. With you people using your lives to pave the way, the people behind will be able to safely reach the end. The effect of this heart-cleansing and eye-brightening liquid is really not bad. If I had known earlier, I would have exchanged for more. After swallowing a drop of the heart-cleansing and eye-brightening liquid, Ziqin's vision recovered. The surrounding white fog also seemed to have slowed down because of this. He saw that the bamboo in front of him had turned into bamboo monsters and were attacking the human soul realm cultivators at the front. The light of their soul weapons flashed as they fought back and killed one bamboo monster after another. After the bamboo monsters died, there would be bamboo joints left behind, which could be considered an opportunity. However, after the human soul realm cultivators died, they would also be eaten by the nearby bamboo monsters. Until now, Ziqin still had not made a move, but he was walking closer to Fang Wulian. Lan Gumeng, Shanya, and Shan Kuei were on the outside while Shijiu, Zichen, and Fang Wulian were in the middle. During this time, the two of them stood on Zichen's left and right. It was not to protect Zichen, but to allow Zichen to rescue them in time if danger occurred. As for Wang Zhe's people, they were leading the way. During this time, in order to ensure Fang Wulian's safety, Wang Zhe would occasionally turn his head and look around vigilantly. Most of the time, he would also cast a cold glance at Zichen. After walking like this for several hours, the casualties in the team were getting higher and higher. If this continued, perhaps all of them would die here. Suddenly, Wang Zhe stopped walking. As he turned around, his eyes became extremely cold. Chapter 3909. Wang Zhe glanced at Zichen, then looked at the calm Fang Wulian and said, "What's the point of acting? You two are really ruthless. Are you just going to watch everyone die?" Zichen spread out his hands and said helplessly, "There's nothing we can do. You're so good at acting. Naturally, we have to give you some space to perform." "Bah! Who do you think you are? How dare you teach me a lesson?" Wang just spat on the ground, his face full of disdain. Then he looked at Fang Wulian. "You're quite ruthless, you fool. So many people died for you, but you didn't even blink." "Wang Zhe, watch your tone," Shan Kuei said coldly. "Watch my ass. You guys can't even be considered as humans. It's better to die early and reincarnate early. Without you scourges, the world will be quieter." Just as he was speaking, people appeared one after another. They were all from the previous team. Originally, they wanted to find an opportunity to sneak attack, but they didn't expect that Zichen didn't use them at all. They kept moving forward, and people kept dying. If they didn't make a move, they would all die. Being ridiculed by Wang Zhe, Fang Wulian didn't get angry. Instead, he looked at him and asked, "Who wants to kill me? When you die, I'll send you a message by burning paper." At this time, the surrounding people began to close in. Their eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. Lan Gumeng and Shan Yu both took a step forward and took out their soul weapons. After the last battle on the sacred mountain, no one dared to be careless. At the crucial moment of battle, the sacred soul weapon would be in hand. "You guys didn't make a move along the way. Let me do it," Zichen suddenly said. He didn't give the two girls a chance to answer and just walked forward. The two girls had to retreat. However, they were very annoyed with Fang Wulian. So, when they were guarding, they only protected Shijiu and excluded Fang Wulian. Fang Wulian noticed their small actions. He shook his head and smiled. He didn't care. Yu Gui stood on Zichen's shoulder and bared his teeth at the human soul realm in front of him. "Reckless fool! You dare to come here alone to seek death?" Seeing Zichen come forward, Wang Zhe couldn't help but sneer. But soon his smile froze because Zichen had disappeared. In the next moment, a beam of light appeared in front of his eyes. Wang Zhe's expression changed abruptly, and he began to mobilize all the power in his body. But it was too late. His neck was grabbed by Zichen. The force of inertia carried his body and smashed him into the distance. With a loud bang, Wang Zhe's body smashed into the ground. The back of his head sunk into the ground. Countless yellow bamboo leaves flew into the air. Blood began to spurt out of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with shock. The others were also dumbfounded. Along the way, they had not seen Zichen make a move. They did not expect that he would be able to subdue Wang Zhe in one move. Zichen's eyes were frosty as he looked at Wang Zhe. "Can't you just look for opportunities properly? Why do you have to court death?" Wang Zhe was ashamed and indignant. His shocked eyes were filled with hatred. A low and hoarse voice came out of his mouth. Kill him! The surrounding people who were in a daze came to their senses. All kinds of soul lights began to flicker as they went straight for Ziqin. Ziqin stood up and stomped his foot. Wang Zhe's body sunk into the ground. In the next moment, a long rod appeared in his hand. With the long rod in hand, he immediately swept it across. A shadow of the rod moved forward. Everywhere it passed, the green bamboo that was blocking the way was broken. Those attacks that were going straight for him were also broken. The bamboo leaves were shaken and flew up. An empty area of more than 10 feet was revealed. More than 10 people fell at the edge of the empty area and wailed. Ziqin stood up with the support of the rod, and his cold gaze swept around. Wang Zhe, who had sunk into the ground, coughed out blood again. He was already breathing more than he was inhaling. Don't you want the opportunities? Ziqin looked at the crowd and asked indifferently, If you don't die, why do you want the opportunities? Wang Zhe, who was on the verge of death, suddenly stood up. He immediately flew back, and at the same time his cold voice sounded again. Kill them! The empty area was immediately filled up. Then, one after another, holy talismans appeared and flew towards the sky. These were not ordinary holy talismans, but holy talisman arrays which were extremely rare in this world. The holy talismans glowed and formed an inescapable net. With a terrifying aura, it pressed down on the ground. Wang Zhe, who was standing outside the holy talisman array, sneered. What an idiot! Since I dared to deal with you, do you think I didn't make any preparations? At this moment, the huge net enveloped Ziqin and the other 5. Obviously, it was going to kill them all. At this moment, the falling net suddenly stopped. Then, as if it was blown up by a hurricane, it flew towards the sky. Buzz! With a tremor, the array formed by many holy talismans shattered. The holy talismans floating in the sky instantly turned into flames and disappeared. Ziqin was still standing in the same place. However, the long rod that he had propped on the ground was now pointed at Wang Zhe. How is this possible? Wang Zhe widened his eyes and looked at Ziqin in disbelief. This holy talisman array was his greatest trump card and also the source of his confidence. It was said that it could even temporarily trap an Earth Soul Realm expert. How could it be broken so easily? You've worked hard. I'll send you on your way. Ziqin's voice sounded again. At the same time, a shadow of a rod that stretched for nearly 100 feet appeared. The shadow of the rod fell, and everything was shattered. In the traces left by the straight shadow of the rod, only Wang Zhe was still standing. Blood dripped down from his forehead. His eyes widened as he looked at Ziqin in disbelief. His body slowly fell backwards. He was dead. This time, nothing unexpected happened. The others all stood there in a daze, as if they had been petrified. Ziqin, who was holding the rod, suddenly narrowed his eyes. He saw a black light suddenly coming in his direction. The long rod in his hand trembled. With a slight tremor, the shadow of the rod fell again. However, the black shadow suddenly sped up and brushed past the long rod. A few drops of blood appeared in the sky. The black shadow did not slow down and went straight for Fang Wulian. Shan Kuei's attack fell. The ground rumbled and a huge deep pit appeared on the ground. Countless dust flew up. The black shadow avoided Shan Kuei's attack and came in front of Fang Wulian. At this moment, a blue light flew in front of the black shadow and directly pierced through the black shadow's body. The black shadow's body paused and a person appeared. He was covered in a black robe. His eyes were different from ordinary people. They were cold and evil. After his figure appeared, he did not slow down and went straight for Fang Wulian. Another beam of light came to his side and passed through him. It was Ju Er's attack. It was like a flying needle soul weapon. However, the opponents killing intent was still there. A bright light shone and appeared between the Black Shadow and Fong Wulian. A strong aura surged. It was Shan Ye's soul weapon. At this moment it had exploded. Chapter 39:10. The Black Shadow came quickly, but it retreated even faster. It disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving only a few streaks of blood falling from the sky. Zichen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. He didn't die even after that? Just how strong was his vitality? The expressions of Lan Gumeng and the others changed, while Fong Wulian, who hadn't moved a single step from the beginning to the end, gradually became gloomy. Shan Kuei was extremely shocked. He quickly flew to Fong Wulian's side, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. The Black Shadow had appeared too suddenly. If Zichen hadn't noticed it in time and stopped it, he wouldn't have been able to react at all. But even so, his attack still missed. The human soul experts who had tried to surround and kill Fong Wulian stood there in a daze after Wang Zhe was killed, and they didn't move a single step. Let's go deeper. Zichen glanced at the crowd and said indifferently. He walked forward, and wherever he passed, the crowd subconsciously retreated, fear in their eyes. Zichen searched the dead Wang Zhe's body and took away the item he had exchanged for earlier. It was good stuff, and the more the better. After that, Zichen raised his head and looked at the crowd who still hadn't moved. He said, "What are you still standing there for? Don't you want the opportunity?" The crowd looked at each other, and some of them couldn't believe that this matter would be let go just like that. Fong Wulian walked forward and waved his hand. The opportunity is the most important. Everyone, let's continue forward. This matter is over. Everyone had already seen Zichen's strength. Naturally, he was extremely powerful, and it would be very easy for him to kill them. They were all human soul experts, so they were naturally not stupid. They clearly knew Zichen and Fong Wulian's goal. Everything was just as Zichen had said. He needed cannon fodder. Now they had no choice. They could either go deeper and open up a path as cannon fodder, or immediately fight to the death with Zichen. However, the few moves that Zichen had displayed earlier had already scared them out of their wits. Therefore, they didn't dare to fight anymore and could only move forward. With the death of a drama queen and the escape of a shadow, everything returned to how it was before. Everyone was still working as cannon fodder. Zichen followed behind and enjoyed the fruits of their labor. Someone from my family wants to kill me. Fong Wulian's mood became very bad, even a little depressed. Zichen glanced at him. How fresh! Before he entered, he caught a glimpse of Fong Wulian's gaze. It was a gaze that he had seen many times before, a gaze that looked at a dead person. Wang Zhe's preparation and the black figure might be Fong Wulian's doing. Zichen didn't hide anything from Fong Wulian. Shijiu carefully sized up Fong Wulian. With your level, they shouldn't be worried about your identity as the successor, right? Why would they need to silence you? His words weren't pleasant to hear, but his reasoning was correct. There were many geniuses in the Fong family. With Fong Wulian's mediocre strength and sparse soul force, Shijiu didn't dare to say that she could defeat all of them, but it wouldn't be a problem for her to defeat 2 of them. Why would Fong Wulian need to kill such a person? Besides, even if there was a conflict between them, they were still half-siblings. Fong Wulian didn't try to redeem himself with words. It seemed that after coming here, his personality had changed, or rather, he had returned to his original nature. His previous playboy personality was just an act. That's not the only reason. Their original intention should be to destroy the Fong family's bloodline and peerless geniuses. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. Wasn't this too shameless? Previously, they thought that Fong Wulian had changed a little. Who would have thought that he would say such shameless words in the next moment? It's true. This time, it was Shan Kuei who spoke. He said in a deep voice, "Young master is the top genius of the Fong family. He has the purest bloodline of the Fong family. When he was born, he even caused a worldly anomaly. Zichen glanced at Shan Kuei. Seeing the other party's serious expression, he smiled embarrassedly and said, I didn't expect you to be so good at telling jokes. If Fong Wulian didn't have the magic spirit robe on him, he would be at the lowest level of the human soul realm. Zichen could kill a large group of him with a single strike. Fong family's bloodline, worldly anomaly, peerless genius? Zichen obviously didn't believe it. Lan Gumeng and the others didn't believe it either. It's up to you whether to believe it or not. Anyway, the reason why they want to kill me is because they're worried about my rise. Fong Wulian's eyes turned cold. I just didn't expect them to send such a strange person. Speaking of the assassin, Zichen's expression changed a little. The other party's tenacious vitality was completely beyond his expectations. First, he was swept by his attack. Then, he was hit by Lan Gumeng and Xiao Er's attacks. His body was penetrated, but he was still able to escape. You know the origin of that person? I only know that he's a very strange person. He has close ties with the Fong family. He's very powerful and very special. However, I don't know his exact origin. Fong Wulian shook his head, feeling a little depressed. This was originally a secret. He had heard about it when he was looking for information about the Bamboo Sea world. At this moment, in another place, the black figure was lying on the ground. There were 2 bloody holes on his body, and his face was very pale. Damn it, I was careless. He panted softly, his eyes full of coldness. A ripple surged out from his body. The ripple slowly spread out. When the nearby bamboo came into contact with the ripple, they began to wither. The ripples extended to a radius of 10 feet. All the bamboos within a radius of 10 feet withered and withered. The vitality contained within the bamboos entered the black-robed man's body. The other party's originally pale face gradually recovered. The wounds he received also began to heal. He could actually devour bamboo to heal. Such a healing method could be called the undying saint technique in this place. Because bamboo was everywhere in this place, life was everywhere. After his wounds healed, the black-robed man suddenly turned his head and shouted, Who is it? Come out. A person walked out from the bamboo forest. It was the black-robed man who walked behind everyone like he was admiring the scenery. You've completed the mission? The other party approached. The black-robed man, who had just recovered, shook his head and said, I was careless. They noticed me ahead of time. You didn't complete the mission, and you're also injured. You've really made our soul-devouring clan proud. You failed your first mission. I was just careless. It's not that they're strong. Don't worry, I'll go kill them now. The other party turned and left. His previous injuries had completely healed. Forget it. You've already alerted them. We'll talk when we get deeper. The other party waved his hand. The 2 members of the soul-devouring clan walked deeper. The surrounding bamboo was the kind that had devoured enough spiritual energy. Therefore, they were very quiet and would not turn into bamboo monsters to attack. Chapter 39:11. At some point in time, the screaming crowd in front of them quietened down. Then there was no longer a single human soul in their field of vision. It wasn't that all of them had died, but that those fellows in front were unwilling and chose to escape. However, their method of escape was to go deeper. Although they had suffered heavy casualties along the way, they weren't willing to be cannon fodder and benefit Zichen. Looking at the bamboo forest that had been quiet for a long time, Zichen said, Looks like we have to do it ourselves. White fog appeared in their field of vision one after another. Furthermore, it was even denser, greatly affecting their vision. The effects of the spirit liquid from before had already disappeared, so they could only continue to swallow a drop. Following that, the few of them safely advanced a few kilometers. Along the way, the green bamboo they encountered gradually changed. The color of the green bamboo became brighter and more vibrant. A green bamboo swayed gently as its surface flickered with light. With a shake of its body, it transformed into a tall bamboo monster and blocked their path. Lan Gumeng stretched out her slender finger. A blue light flew out from her sleeve and pierced through the bamboo monster in front of them. A bloody hole appeared on the bamboo monster's body as blue blood flowed out. The blood sizzled as it fell to the ground. A few large holes were instantly melted into the ground, emitting white smoke that was somewhat pungent. "This is poison," Fong Wulian shouted. The few of them immediately took out the detoxification fruits they had exchanged for and swallowed them. As for the tree monster that was struck by Lan Gumeng's sword, it swayed and fell to the ground, turning into a bright-colored bamboo. It could be refined into weapons with poison attributes, so it was considered a good material. Ziqin glanced at Lan Gumeng, who put it away. This was Lan Gumeng's spoils of war. At this moment, the quiet bamboo around them changed one after another. One bamboo monster after another appeared. Shan Kuei and the others immediately attacked and began to kill these bamboo monsters. Ziqin stood beside Fong Wulian and observed the surroundings. Shi Jiu stood on the other side of Ziqin and used her soul weapon to attack from afar. One bamboo monster after another was pierced through. Blue blood splattered everywhere as the ground was corroded into thousands of holes. Looking at the intense battle ahead, Ziqin said, "Not many people will be able to return alive this time." Fong Wulian nodded. The few people present were all very strong, but they were still blocked by these bamboo monsters. If the others encountered these bamboo monsters, they would probably die. Moreover, they couldn't see the end of this path. No one knew how many dangers awaited them. Ziqin said, "If that's the case, isn't your Fong clan worried that other forces will make things difficult for you?" Aside from the Fong clan, there were many other forces that came to the Bamboo Sea world with other motives. Although their motives were not pure, they all had the shadow of a large clan behind them. Once everyone died inside, one could imagine how much pressure the Fong clan would have to bear. Fong Wulian said, "I'm not sure. Perhaps the Fong family will also suffer heavy losses this time. For example, I, a very famous direct descendant, will also die here." Ziqin laughed. "You know yourself well." Suddenly, a powerful aura attacked from the front. Shan Kuei, who was wearing battle armor and fighting in close combat, flew back and smashed beside Ziqin, raising a large amount of soil. Ziqin's expression changed slightly. He looked forward and saw a bamboo monster that was dozens of feet tall appear in his field of vision. Its entire body emitted a red light. The bamboo that made up its body was exceptionally thick. It had a pair of flickering eyes, looking very strange. "This is the Bamboo Monster King." Ziqin was slightly stunned because there were clearly more bamboo monsters around them, coming from all directions. Lan Gumeng's soul weapon moved forward again, but when it got close, this extraordinary soul weapon only left a shallow mark on the bamboo monster's body. The blue sword light flashed several times, but it was unable to cut through the monster's body. The attack that killed it in one strike had now lost its effect. The red light on the bamboo monster's body seemed to have a powerful defense, greatly reducing the Lan clan's power. "You should be careful," Ziqin instructed. Then a long staff appeared in his hand, and he flew forward. With a loud bang, Shan Kuei, who had just charged forward, was sent flying again. If not for the armor on his body, he might have been seriously injured. Even so, after landing, he still coughed up blood from the shock. There were more and more bamboo monsters around them, like an army that was gathering. Lan Gumeng and Shanya were already somewhat strenuous and began to gradually retreat. A powerful aura appeared behind the two. Ziqin was like a bolt of lightning, striking forward with his staff. With a loud bang, a large group of bamboo monsters were sent flying. An open area appeared in front of them, and at the end of the open area was the red bamboo monster. Ziqin took a step forward, causing the ground to shake violently. He was like a cannonball flying forward. A bamboo blade appeared in the hands of the Bamboo Monster King. The main blade slashed forward, leaving a clear mark in the sky. The bamboo blade enlarged, its light illuminating the world. An earth-shattering aura surged down. On Ziqin's left hand, a light shield appeared, releasing a strong light. It also enlarged, blocking above his head. Boom! The light shield trembled. Countless rays of light fell down from all directions. A powerful force pressed down on the light shield. Ziqin's body landed back on the ground. There were several cracks on the ground, and countless withered bamboo leaves flew into the air along with the dust. At this moment, Ziqin sensed that there was a mountain pressing down on the light shield. He who was holding the shield was somewhat unable to breathe. Lan Gumeng and the others' faces changed, and they were about to go forward to support him. At this moment, another ray of light appeared in the world. This time the light was purple. The surging aura was even more powerful and terrifying, instantly piercing through the world. More than half of the red light on the huge Bamboo Monster King's body dissipated, and its body was sent flying. When it fell to the ground, it let out a sharp cry. The other bamboo monsters abandoned their opponents and attacked Ziqin. The light shield in Ziqin's hand disappeared, and the patterns on the staff lit up by about 2/3. Rays of purple light flowed on the surface of his body. He swept the staff horizontally. A purple shadow of a staff moved forward, drawing a perfect half arc. Within this half arc, all the bamboo monsters and bamboo monsters were split into two. The bamboo monsters that were originally blocking the way were cleared out. Ziqin's figure disappeared again. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the Bamboo Monster King. His gaze was cold, and he swung the staff down again. The purple light soared into the sky, illuminating the area within a radius of 10 li, attracting countless gazes. Another rumbling sound rang out, and the ground shook violently. In front of Ziqin, a crater with a radius of 300 meters appeared. Chapter 39:12. After the Bamboo Monster King died, it left behind an extremely precious refining material. Ziqin picked it up. The bamboo joint shone brightly, but it also contained a strong poisonous aura. He wrapped it in energy and put it away. The surrounding bamboo monsters summoned by the Bamboo Monster King did not flee in a sorry state because of their king's death. They were still charging forward, but this time there was no order. They were no longer targeting Ziqin alone. Everyone began to work together. Even Feng Wulian was no longer idle. With the magic spirit robe on his body, his battle prowess had increased by several levels. Killing those bamboo monsters was relatively easy. However, without the cannon fodder from before, those hungry bamboo monsters seemed to have gone mad. They constantly attacked the few of them. Ziqin had no choice but to retreat and attack again. Although he was able to sweep away a large number of bamboo monsters each time, helping everyone clear out an empty space, there were simply too many bamboo monsters. There was practically no end to them. Ziqin looked at the endless bamboo forest, and then looked at the bamboo monsters gathering in the distance. He said, "Continue forward and accumulate strength." At this moment, Ziqin actually felt a little regretful. If he had known that the road ahead would be so difficult, he would have treated those who wanted to kill Feng Wulian kindly. They would have gone deeper together first. But now they needed the few of them to defend against such a great danger. And Ziqin felt the danger. From this, it could be seen that the others were in a similar situation. By the time they reached this place, the total number of people had decreased by half. As they continued to advance, the number of people was still decreasing. It was likely that, in the end, not many people would be able to survive. Among everyone, the ones who advanced the most freely and calmly should be the two from the Soul Devourers. Wherever they passed, all the bamboo monsters that tried to attack the two of them would silently disperse, turning into the purest energy that was absorbed by the two of them. As for the bamboo monsters, they were fearless when they were slaughtered by Zi-Chen and the others. However, in front of the two of them, it was as if they had met their nemesis. They were terrified. Along the way, Zi-Chen had seen far too many bamboo monsters. Even though he had only opened a path, the number of bamboo monsters he had killed along the way was still a huge number. He didn't know how the other teams would fare, but Zi-Chen believed that none of the people who had left back then would have made it here alive. Just like that, they fought and advanced. During this period of time, they would also take turns to rest and accumulate strength. Everyone had complete trust in each other, so their cooperation was also very good. The items that they had exchanged before were continuously used up. I don't have any more heart purifying fluid. In Shan Ye's field of vision, countless white fog appeared. She subconsciously reached out to grab the items, but found that she had already used up all of them. Me too. Lan Gumeng shook her head. At this moment, white fog also appeared in front of her eyes. Zi-Chen took out 2 drops of heart-cleansing, eye-brightening liquid and handed it to the two of them, then looked to the side. Xiaoer said, "I don't want it. My soul weapon can automatically find enemies to attack." Fong Wulian also said, "My attack is too weak. I don't want it either. It's completely wasted on me." Zi-Chen gave another drop to Shan Kuei. The other party was wearing battle armor, so he could charge and break through the enemy lines. At critical moments, he could even block attacks for everyone. Zi-Chen also swallowed a drop. He walked at the front with a staff and shield in his hands. Shan Kuei was arranged to be at the back by him, in charge of covering the rear. As the items were used up, their speed clearly slowed down. However, the bamboo monsters were not affected. Instead, their attacks became even sharper. Just when everyone was feeling exhausted and their items had been used up one after another, they finally saw the end of the bamboo forest. However, they only saw it for a moment before the effect of the heart-cleansing, eye-brightening liquid disappeared. Thick fog filled their field of vision. As the white fog rolled, many bamboo monsters charged forward. Zi-Chen, who was standing at the front, took a deep breath. The long staff in his hand began to tremble, and the patterns on it lit up one after another. He poured his little soul power into it. A purple light bloomed from it. Zi-Chen took a step forward and swept his staff. The purple light rushed forward, and the white fog around them rolled crazily, drowning the purple light in front of them. Without the heart-cleansing, eye-brightening liquid, no one could see what was happening in front of them. However, from time to time, there would be sounds of explosions, indicating that the bamboo monsters were being killed. "Let's go!" Zi-Chen shouted. He obviously increased his speed and crashed into the white fog. Lan Gumeng and the others followed closely behind. This was the final sprint. After a moment, another purple light lit up, and it headed towards the end of the bamboo forest. Immediately after, a third purple light appeared. On the path not far away, Zi-Chen displayed a total of 5 powerful attacks. Only then did he open up a safe path for everyone. When they walked out of the bamboo forest, one gaze after another was immediately cast in their direction. The commotion caused by Zi-Chen's final attack was too great. Sensing the aura of the purple light, many people's hearts trembled. The 6 of them walked out together, and their field of vision immediately widened. However, all of them were exhausted and had consumed a lot of energy. Zi-Chen did not put away his staff, nor did he relax. This was because there were already people here, and there were more than 200 people. When they came, there were thousands of people, but only a few people were able to make it here. It was obvious that the casualties were great. Naturally, there were those who came early and those who came late. Those who came early were at their peak, while those who came late were still recovering. Zi-Chen gave a few people a look. Everyone subconsciously distanced themselves from the group. Without needing Zi Chen's instructions, they began to recover. Zi Chen stood there with a long staff in his hand. It could be said that he was protecting everyone. After all, the people here could also be enemies. You should recover first. In this place, no one should attack us, Fong Wulian said. Zi Chen shook his head slightly. He did not feel at ease leaving his life in the hands of a group of strangers. Not bad. You actually made it here alive. A faint voice came from not far away. It was Fong Wuling. She was walking towards them. Wuling, it's you. Fong Wuling's face had a smile. At the same time, he subconsciously bent down. This was his posture in front of Fong Wuling. Beside Fong Wuling, Fong Wudao also walked towards them. Big brother is here too. Fong Wuling bent down a little more. This was not like seeing siblings, but more like a servant seeing his master. Fong Wudao said indifferently, You've been acting for so many years. Aren't you tired? Fong Wuling was slightly stunned. Big brother, what do you mean? Fong Wudao said, I'm very surprised that you're still alive. However, I've had enough of your acting. After so many years, you really think everyone is a fool. The smile on Fong Wuling's face disappeared. He straightened his bent back and sighed. If I don't act, I won't be able to survive in the Fong clan. I can only continue acting. When my mother was killed by you, I was acting as an ignorant child. I did not even dare to shed a tear. I had to pretend that I had nothing to do every day. In order to survive, I purposely did not cultivate properly. I tried my best to slow down my progress. However, my bloodline was still forcefully destroyed by you. The pain of losing my bloodline was still fresh in my mind. At that time, I felt like half of my life was gone. However, I did not dare to get angry. Nor did I have anyone to complain to. When I saw you, I was like a dog that had seen its master. I kept on wagging my tail and begging you to let me live. During this period, no matter how unpleasant the words were, I had to endure them. Moreover, I had to face them with a smile. Chapter 30:913. Fong Wulian didn't suppress his voice, so everyone heard him clearly. For a moment, everyone was stunned, including those from the Fong clan. Everyone in the Fong clan knew that Fong Wulian didn't have a high status in the clan. If he wasn't lucky enough to be reincarnated into a good family and have a brother and sister to protect him, no one would dare to go against him. With his personality, he would have died countless times. Due to various pressures, Fong Wulian moved 3 times. But the place he occupied was still the best residence in the clan, which was ranked in the top 20. Originally, everyone thought that it was because of the brother and sister, but now it seemed that it had a lot to do with his identity as a genius. For many outsiders who were lucky enough to be here, Fong Wulian's words were like a clap of thunder, causing them to be shocked. Who would have thought that Fong Wulian, who was extremely famous to the outside world, the notorious second generation, was actually living such a life in the Fong clan? Zi Chun was also stunned, and the expressions of Xiao, and the others changed. A complicated emotion emerged in their hearts. Fong Wulian said indifferently, It seems that you've been working hard for so many years. Now that I'm not giving you a chance to act and let you be your true self, you should be thanking me, not complaining. Fong Wuling said coldly, Ungrateful bastard, if it wasn't for us, would you be able to live until now? Fong Wulian said, The reason I'm able to live until now, other than my own failure, I also have to thank those old people who supported me. They worked hard to live, so all these years you could only slowly rack your brains to kill them one by one. Do you know what I wanted to tell you the most all these years? Fong Wulian took a deep breath and said, You're a pair of famous adulterers, recognized as geniuses, but you're not even worthy of carrying my shoes. If it wasn't for scheming, my talent would have left you in the dust. Yes, that's much better. Fong Wulian smiled and said, I've been tolerating you adulterers for a long time. You're courting death. Fong Wuling moved, and like a ray of light, he charged towards Fong Wulian. Fong Wulian stood there without moving. At this moment he had a smile on his face, but it also carried a sense of relief. Shan Kuei wanted to step forward, but he had expended too much energy earlier. At this moment he was almost exhausted, and his movements were obviously slower. Fong Wuling's palm seemed to have transformed into an eagle's claw. A sharp aura surged from her fingertips. At this moment, her killing intent was no longer concealed. Zichen stood there without moving, as if he didn't notice that Fong Wulian was in danger. He looked at Fong Wulian and gripped the black rod tightly. The patterns on the rod began to change and gradually light up. A soul light suddenly appeared in front of Fong Wulian, like a bolt of lightning, and blocked the attack of the eagle claw. It was a weapon that looked like a long needle. It surged with a powerful aura, resisting the power contained in the eagle claw. It was Shijio. She, who had always hated Fong Wulian, actually saved him at this moment. Wang. The black staff in Zichen's hand erupted, and a powerful aura surged up like a violent storm, bringing with it a strong wind. His hair fluttering in the wind, Zichen's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Fong Wuling grabbed the soul weapon and slid backwards. Shan Kuei, who tried to approach, was also forced back. The long staff in Zichen's hand pierced forward like a long sword. Countless ripples surged on the body of the staff. This scene looked as if Zichen took the initiative to attack Fong Wulian. In fact, it wasn't. A black shadow appeared in front of Fong Wulian, and then retreated like a shooting star. Fong Wulian also retreated. Zichen's attack shook the front, and several cracks appeared on the ground. There were also some clear scratches in the air. After the attack, Zichen immediately withdrew his staff. His face was a little pale. This was already the last of his strength. Shijio withdrew her soul weapon. She only glanced at Fong Wuling, and then continued to sit cross-legged. At the same time, she took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Lan Gumeng and Shan were still recovering with their eyes closed. The unforeseen event in front of them didn't affect them. Do we fight now or go in? Zichen glanced to the side. There was still a bamboo forest there. Obviously, there was still danger in there. As he withdrew his gaze, he looked behind Fong Wulian. The black shadow turned into a black-robed man. He couldn't see the other's face, but the aura that flowed around the other's body was a little strange. There was a sense of déjà vu. Fong Wulian snorted. Do you think you still have the strength to fight now? Zichen said indifferently, What if I do? Fong Wulian frowned. He was willing to shed all pretense of cordiality with Fong Wulian because he knew the secret of this place. This time, not many people could leave alive. Fong Wulian and Zichen were not included in this group. Now, according to Zichen's overall condition, he was confident that he could kill him. But as Zichen said, what if he still had the strength to fight and both sides were injured? There were still more than 200 people here. There might be some who came up with the idea at the last minute. He sank into silence, calculating the gains and losses of this battle. It's not wise to fight now. Let them continue to be cannon fodder. A sound transmission sounded in Fong Wulian's knowledge sea. Fong Wulian smiled and said, My brother is heartless, but I can't be unrighteous. I've already protected him for so long. Of course, I don't care if it lasts a little longer. After speaking, Fong Wulian turned and left. Fong Wuling coldly glanced at the crowd. The warning in his eyes was very obvious. Seeing the two leave, Zichen also breathed a sigh of relief. 2 saint runes flew out in front of him and landed on his arms. Strands of power flowed into his body through his arms. He also began to recover, but he couldn't maintain his full strength. His recovery speed was not fast. At this moment, Lan Gumeng's blue dragon beast flew out and landed on Zichen's head. Fong Wulian spent most of his time sleeping and did not care about the outside world. However, as long as he attacked, victory was almost certain. Now that Fong Wulian had taken the initiative to appear, Ziqin was also relieved. He sat down cross-legged and began to recover at full speed. Fong Wulian also sat down. For them, recovering to their peak state was the most important thing. Fong Wulian glanced over with some unwillingness in his eyes, but in the end, he did not continue to attack. There were more people recovering in the surroundings, but this time they clearly had more things on their minds. Fong Wulian wanted to kill Fong Wulian, and Fong Wulian had directly revealed the relationship between them. They could be said to have indirectly found out about the Fong family's secret. Would Fong Wulian let them go? As time passed, some people had already recovered. However, they did not continue to go deeper. Instead, they gathered in groups of 3 or 5, discussing something. Their gazes would occasionally look towards the depths of the bamboo forest. It was not easy to reach here, and their losses could be said to be great. If there was a similar endless bamboo forest ahead, almost no one would be able to reach the end. This was because almost all of their items had been used up. If they entered the bamboo forest again, they would not even be able to determine their direction. As such, their chances of dying would be even higher. 2 hours later, Ziqin had completely recovered and reached his peak state. However, he did not wake up and continued to close his eyes, pretending to recover. This was because the people who had arrived were all still in this area. None of them chose to go deeper. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something, or rather, they were not willing to be the first to enter. Another hour passed, but there was still no movement in the surroundings. Ziqin opened his eyes. He couldn't go on like this. After he stood up, Lan Gumeng and the others also stood up. After a long period of recovery, everyone's strength had reached their peak state. Fong Wulian glanced at the depths of the bamboo forest and said, "Those who can reach here are not fools." Ziqin looked into the distance. At this moment, almost everyone had recovered, and their gazes were wandering around casually. It seemed that they were all waiting for the first person to enter. In the end, Ziqin's gaze fell on Fong Wudao. He was sitting there and chatting with someone next to him. As if sensing Ziqin's gaze, he turned around and glanced at Ziqin. "Do you know what's inside?" Ziqin suddenly asked. No one knew who he was asking. "I don't know," Fong Wulian replied. "Even you don't know what's inside. It seems that the confidentiality is very good." Ziqin did not suppress his voice, or rather, his purpose of speaking was to let others hear him. For a moment, many gazes fell on him. Ziqin said with a smile, "It seems that we have to continue waiting. This time, so many people from your family came. Someone must know what's in the depths. Maybe there's a great secret." With that, Ziqin sat down again and prepared to comprehend the spell. "What if there's really something good inside?" Shijiu suddenly asked. "That's just a guess. What if there's no secret? After all, someone is more anxious than us. Moreover, if we stay here for a few years, we might be able to break through." With that, Ziqin closed his eyes. It seemed that he was really going to fight a protracted battle. There was a hidden meaning in his words. Previously, they were still uneasy and anxious, but now they were relieved. The people from the Fong family were not anxious, so they were not anxious either. Even if it was a battle of attrition, they had a reason to wait. That insidious thief! A cold light flashed in Fong Wuling's eyes. In this case, those who were anxious and wavering would definitely not enter rashly. Then, other than the Fong family, no one would move for the time being. There was no cannon fodder. Fong Wudao did not say anything. He still sat there, and even his expression did not change much. Just like that, another hour passed. Everyone's expression was calm as they waited quietly. They were no longer anxious or anxious. Fong Wudao stood up and said, Everyone's gazes were attracted. There is indeed a fortuitous opportunity in the depths, and it's a great one. My Fong family made its fortune here, but for some reason, the originally gentle bamboo has become abnormally ferocious. Everyone has seen it before, it's very dangerous. Fong Wudao pointed at the depths and said, "This time when the bamboo ocean world opens, my Fong family has the intention of abandoning this place. At the same time, we also plan to take the fortuitous opportunity in the depths with us." This was the Fong family's secret. Now that Fong Wudao said it, everyone's expression changed quite a bit. However, one thing was certain. There was indeed a fortuitous opportunity here, and it was the Fong family's biggest one. This time, I guarantee that as long as you're lucky enough, you can take as much as you find here. Even if you find the method of refining, you can take it as well. My Fong family will not interfere. The exit is also in the depths, so whether you want to find a fortuitous opportunity or leave, you must go deeper. Fong Wudao clasped his fists at the crowd and said, "That's all I have to say. We'll go first." Fong Wudao led a dozen people and Fong Wuling directly into the depths. When they entered the forest, the previously quiet bamboo forest immediately lit up with streaks of light, followed by the rumbling of thunder. The bamboo seemed to have turned into lightning bamboo and began to attack the surroundings. It was just that the figures of Fong Wudao and the others had already disappeared. Lightning bamboo? Zichen opened his eyes and saw this scene. His expression changed, and at the same time his eyes were burning with passion. When he first came here, the bamboo in Fong Lin City had left a deep impression on him. Along the way, Zichen had a thought in his mind, which was whether he could take some of the bamboo here and bring it back to breed. Now that he saw the lightning bamboo that was very compatible with his power, Zichen's thought became even stronger. If he brought some of the lightning bamboo back and planted it in his world, what would it be like when it was bred to a certain extent? At this moment, Zichen was tempted. In fact, there were many people who had the same idea as Zichen. In fact, many people had dug up the roots of bamboo in their storage space, and they all wanted to bring it back to breed. Sure enough, as Fong Wudao moved, the others moved as well, especially those from the Fong clan. They came here not only for fortuitous opportunities, but also for the identity of the clan's successor. Whoever could bring back the true foundation of the Fong clan would become the successor. No one was willing to miss this opportunity. As more and more small teams entered, the commotion in the bamboo forest grew even louder. The nearby green bamboos all lit up, turning into one lightning bamboo after another. However, until now, no lightning bamboo monsters had appeared. No one waited. Everyone stepped into the center. "Are we going or not?" Shan Kuei asked, dressed in battle armor. He was also thinking for his young master. Zichen glanced into the distance and said, "Let's go." The group of 6 moved forward and entered the lightning bamboo forest. As soon as they entered, bolts of lightning appeared from all directions and attacked the 6 people approaching. Apart from Zichen, the other people's bodies appeared with a defensive light, blocking the lightning. Zichen allowed the lightning to fall on his body. As the lightning entered his body, a familiar energy appeared and swam in his body, tempering his physical body. Zichen's eyes lit up. After entering the bamboo forest, he finally encountered the greatest opportunity. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.